Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Beichman.
Present.
Biesinger.
Present.
Boss.
Present.
Ekis.
Present.
Fry.
Present.
Gross.
Present.
Schroller.
Present.
Crom. We have a quorum.
All right. All right, the minutes are on pages 2 to 6. I just had one change. It's on page 4 of the minutes, that the motion actually was to have Karen Hughes on the Planning Commission, and it was a separate sentence that Mayor Grun noted that Tony Deaver's term will expire in November. So the motion didn't say that she was specifically replacing Tony Deaver, but Tony was rolling off. So you have that change, Debbie? Mm-hmm. Did anybody have any other changes? I would entertain a motion with that amendment.
Move to approve the minutes of the October 24th meeting with amendment.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. Thank you very much. Public comments. Anyone who is not on the agenda that would like to speak for 5 minutes, please give your name, address, and ward, please. All right, moving along to business and discussion item. The first item is the Chamber Main Street Convention and Tourism Marysville Christmas. Is that you, Brenda?
Hello, I'm Brenda Steigenborg with the Marysville Chamber of Commerce. You should all have a letter in your packet concerning the Christmas opening on, well, actually the official day is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. It's actually a 3-day event with several things going on all weekend, but the main day is on Saturday. There are events with a jingle run in the morning, a living nativity, a Victorian Christmas, children's activities, musicians, a tree lighting, displays at the Art Center, and the big parade at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We are requesting that we be able to block off 9th Street from Broadway to the alley at 9 in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and from that alley to Elm Street after the post office closes at 10:30 until approximately 5. This will allow time to set up for the activities, keep the traffic away from the children going to Santa's house and people going to the Art Center. Then we would also request cones to be able to block off Broadway about 10 minutes before the parade starts to ensure the safety of everyone downtown on all the side streets. 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, and I think probably 5th Street too. We didn't ask that before. But the parade will start setting up at 4th Street and Broadway, and then we'll continue up to 9th Street and then go to Santa's house. I believe last year the city left cones there, and we had someone set them out right before the parade started, and then somebody walked by and picked them up basically as the parade went on. So they weren't blocked off very long, but just long enough so there wasn't any traffic. Have any questions?
Would someone like to make a motion?
Move to approve closing of the street on Saturday, November 26th for Santa's Christmas Parade, as presented by Brenda Steigenborg.
Second.
To include the 5th Street?
To include 5th Street.
Second time?
Yes.
Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. Thank you.
Okay, quick comments. We are decorating for the Christmas opening for Santa's house, and we have always used the main door, which is on the west side of the building. This year we are going to try using the south building and have the children enter through the arbor that's on the west side of the park, in the middle of the west row of lilac bushes. There's the arbor into the curved sidewalk, and we're going to have them come in there this year.
Just to get for a bigger line? Or?
Yeah, allow for, so the line doesn't go out on the sidewalk, and we would like to make it kind of a winter wonderland by putting some net lights on the inside of the lilac bushes and canes along the sidewalk and that type of thing.
To kind of mark where you want them to go and stuff?
Yeah, so they would, and we'll have a sign out with, Santa's house entrance or something like that we're gonna put out by the arbor. didn't know if I needed to have permission to put the lights on the lilacs, or just let you know we're doing it. Our biggest thing is we need to figure out how to plug them all in. I haven't went and scoped that out yet. Whether there's any plug-ins around that area by the gazebo, or if they're going to have to all go to the Santa's house, or if there's some on a pole somewhere. I haven't looked.
Do you know, Devin? They used to have those. They used to have those lights at the gazebo.
Dave's saying no. There's no electricity.
Yeah, it's.
Nothing nowhere? Just Santa's house?
And a pole by Santa's house.
And a pole by Santa's house?
Used to be all
Okay.
lighted up
We can make it
down
work. Heavy-duty extension cords and...
Okay. So is there a consensus of the council that that is all right for them to proceed with those decorations?
Okay, all right, thank you.
Brenda, did you want to present your request for ATVs?
For what?
ATVs?
ATVs too, yes, I forgot about that, I'm sorry. Yes, for your ATVs in the parade. It'll just be parade entries.
Okay, entertain a motion.
Move to approve request for permission
Or golf carts.
for parade participants to use decorated golf carts or ATVs in the parade for their entries.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 7-0, all right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you noticed that, Vicki.
And Wayne has some more Christmas.
So
More
for the
Christmas.
past, more Christmas. For the past 6 months, we've been working on branding Marysville as a Christmas destination. When you think Christmas, think Marysville. And so Main Street, Chamber of Commerce, our retail businesses, the arts groups, and convention and tourism have been working together to figure out how are we going to package Marysville as that destination. So part of that was buying some of the new Christmas decorations for downtown Marysville that will hopefully be up by Christmas kickoff on November 26th. And a couple things that go with this. We've traditionally had that artificial Christmas tree in Pony Park. We'd like that tree to go by Santa's house, and we have a local farmer who's going to donate more than a 15-foot tall live tree that we would like to put in Pony Park instead. Okay. And you heard Brenda talk about the parade. We are hoping that our council members will once again have a float in Santa's parade on November 26th at 2 o'clock.
Well, it's the KU K-State game, and I'm waiting to see when the game is. I hate to say that from my perspective. You guys can plan when. I don't think the game's been determined yet, the time.
I have no clue. That's never on my radar.
But does someone else want to be responsible for the float in case the KU K-State game is?
Darlene does.
I mean, I don't know how soon they'll have that game time.
But we'll do something.
So.
We'll throw together something.
Okay, Vicki will be in
That'd be
charge of
great.
throwing together something.
Yeah, perfect.
Sorry, I'm sitting here showing my true colors. KU K-State game.
Showing your true crimson and blue colors, I'm sure.
No, purple and white, purple and white.
I talked to Austin today about our tree, and I'll be talking to Mr. Richardson, Dale Richardson, about how we will install the tree in Pony Park. Just giving you a heads up if that's all right.
Sounds great.
Wayne, are we going to have people, maybe a quartet, a couple of women, a couple of men in 1800s long dresses and muffs, maybe caroling up and down the street, and maybe some woman carrying a muffin basket handing out muffins?
We're not, but that's a great idea. We're going to
Would you like to volunteer for that?
Absolutely. We are going to have
Am I in
music.
charge of that now, too?
We are going to have music. The community band plays from 5 to 5:30 on the 26th in Pony Park to transition from Santa getting from his house to the Pony Park. And then thanks to Mr. Ickes, he's making the official Santa will turn on the lights at 5:30 so that theoretically Marysville is lit up at 5:30. So there will be music.
Good.
And the Kester House is planning that day, 11, 12, and 1. They'll have a Victorian Christmas.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
So that ties in maybe a little bit more to what you're talking about.
That'd be wonderful.
Okay?
I'll bake muffins.
All right. Sounds exciting.
Very exciting. This is the look you'll want to see. This is the whole look for all of our Christmas advertising. We're doing special stuff for November 26th, which is the Christmas kickoff. And then we'll have a new series the same look for all that's going on in December. And if you pay attention, you'll notice that weekend of Christmas kickoff and then the weekend of December 3rd and then December 10th. There's a lot going on in Marysville. So the concept, one of the reasons we all got together is to make sure people know there are so many reasons to come to Marysville. You can shop, you can see the lights, there are concerts, there's the tastes of the season, and all around.
Looks great.
Okay, cool.
Yes, great. Thanks,
And
Wayne.
the fire department is going to bring Santa in this year. So that's a change from last several years, right? But the fire, we're going to have.
I think Santa requested the fire truck.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Oh,
I got your email about our Main Street being on the Kansas Magazine. No, that wasn't your email, but I couldn't find a Kansas Magazine.
I know, I've asked for more copies.
So on the front of the Kansas Magazine is Marysville's Broadway Street, which is amazing.
Absolutely.
Did we win the contest?
We didn't win, but we're one of the top 5.
Oh, and they just happened to choose our Main Street for the front cover?
Right? Do you know more about why they... Right, yeah.
That is awesome.
It's the photos by the editor of the magazine, so...
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And also, I was walking on Broadway today, and there was a cluster of people at the Black Squirrel near Kester Museum, and they had their little advocate program walking around looking at squirrels, and they said they were from Lawrence, so I thought that was so great.
Is that not... Have you noticed that too, as you're driving around and people are
Yes,
gawking at the
photographs,
squirrels?
photo walks.
Like,
Yeah, so thank you. I think it's a great success already, just Black Squirrel Night alone, but
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank
Wayne,
you. Yes?
excuse me, who's in charge of Miss Merry Christmas and making sure that she's goes to the stores and she's part of the festivities? Who's in charge
Absolutely.
of her?
You're talking to the right person.
You?
Yeah.
Okay, so have you arranged for her to have a ride? I drove her last year in the
You
Christmas
did. I didn't
parade,
know
so-
that piece.
Oh, well, okay, now I'm not volunteering. I'm just saying.
Got it. I didn't know
I'm
that
just
part.
saying.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and we do have 2 requests for funds from the Convention and Tourism on page 11 for Marshall County Connection, and on page 14 for Kester House Museum, or the Museum Alliance, local advertising for the museums. So I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve the request for Convention and Tourism for Marshall County Connection to develop brochures for the Blue River Rail Trail in the amount of $500 to come out of transient guest tax.
Yes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? 7-0. You want to do the second one, Vicki, while you're on a roll? On page 14?
Okay, Marysville, I move to approve the grant application? Is that where we are?
Request for funds.
Is that it, Carla?
On page 14.
Okay, sorry. Thanks, Viv. Okay, move to approve the request for Convention and Tourism for funds for local advertising for the Kester House Museum, the Pony Express Barn, Historic Courthouse, for advertising their gift shop and merchandise. Funds will be used to place ads on KNDY and any advocate to make local residents aware of the holiday gift opportunities in the gift shop. Amount $250 to be taken from transient guest tax.
I second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. Thank you. Put you on the spot there. All right, the chamber agreement is on page 24 and 25. We have not given this to chamber yet because we wanted you guys to see it and read it, but I think we can go ahead and present it to it.
You need to get time to read it, we're going to make the motion.
Yeah, it's in the packet.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you should.
Just make a motion.
Okay, so I'd move to approve that we send the agreement to the chamber for their review as printed.
Second.
For their review, rather than have me just sign it and send it to them.
Well, unless they want to counter, but,
As an offer, yeah.
You want it just sort of for their review?
right.
As you
Because
say.
we don't sign it before would we sign it before we send it to them, or do we sign it
I think
when
we
they send
should
it
wait
back
for
to
that.
us?
Let them see it?
Yeah.
All right, so your motion was to send it to them, and who was our second?
Second.
Who second? Vicki did.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, on number 2, under A, number 2, keep brochure racks. I think it should be updated instead of updates.
Okay. Maybe we should pull that S of brochures too and just say keep brochure racks. You want to pull that S?
Yeah.
As long as we're changing it.
Yeah.
Anything else? Did you have something else?
Yes. As far as quarterly payments, making, instead of after January 1, make it after January tax dispersions. There we go.
Of each quarter beginning January after tax dispersions.
After distributions.
Okay, after tax distribution. After transient guest tax distributions.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we need to make a motion on those amendments. Anyone to make that motion?
Move to approve, or make a motion to approve the amendments as discussed.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, now, as amended, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 7-0. Thank you very much. We'll make those changes and you'll get a chamber for us. Okay. The next item is the easement. There were changes since the one that was in the agenda packet, so it is on the desk, on your desk with some corrections. Basically, it was just adding Karen's name to the document. Initially, it just had Terry Hughes and didn't have Karen Hughes. There's a couple of typos and just correcting a couple of numbers to agree with the map that was presented and adding my signature and the city seal. Those were basically the changes. So I entertain a motion to approve the final waterline easement agreement.
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 7-0. Thank you. All right, notices and hearings. Dave is here. He's going to give us an update.
Give you a new set of pictures for the backyard of 1205. There's quite a bit of change in the backyard since I took them others on Thursday, so he's been doing a lot of work on his. He's working right now on trying to get those little retaining things out of the alley, move them back on the property a little bit. He's got that all cleaned up real nice.
So, Dave, what would you propose we do? What do you think needs to do to get it within our code at this point?
Yeah, he's still got some stuff behind, right behind the house there he needs to get work on, which I think he probably will. I'm not sure what to do with the rocks. Rocks can be there. You got any way to get rid of the rocks, or?
Mr. Molnaric, you want to come up?
My initial plans with the rocks were to rebuild the retaining wall by the garage, but it requires a footing. So I'm in the process of wiring the footing in, getting it poured.
You still plan to use those rocks?
Yes, as a retaining wall. The bigger part of the rocks, there's a lot of small ones that I've dug up through the last few years from the garden and from around the yard.
So you want to keep the large rocks? But
Yes, I'd like to.
the large rocks, but all the small rocks that are in barrels and stuff, you don't really want those?
I don't really have a use for them as of right now, no.
There is significant improvement, I want to say that. Just to give you a timeline, I did look it up, and he was notified in April of 2016. The hearing was in June of 2016, and then we extended it to tonight. So that's the time frame on this process for Mr. Molnaric. So,
I still have ways to go. It's just time's difficult to come up with.
when I talked to Dave this afternoon, I talked to him possibly about getting rid of the rocks. Because otherwise, I mean, it's not, well, how do you guys feel? I'm going to ask you that. I think all those barrels of rocks is what concerned me. And we could have our city crew come in, put them in the dump truck, tow them off, put them out at the dump. Then we'd assess him the cost to tow them away of our manpower.
I think that he's come a really long ways, and I think from where he started, this is a lot for one man to do.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. And he's made a great improvement. Like he said, he's not done yet. But I really would not like to see us use our labor to add this to the workload that our guys have to do. If Mr. Molnaric intends to continue making progress,
yes, I do.
don't think there'd be anything wrong with extending him more time. I think he has a good heart and good intentions.
Yes, I do. And give me another month and we'll go from there.
But you don't want the rock.
I can find a use for them, hopefully, or there's always use for rock. There's a base under my bricks, or, you know. If it's an eyesore that I have them in barrels, then I'll take them out of the barrels, put them in a pile. But I thought it'd be better to have them in barrels, more accessible.
Yeah, well, in time, the barrels have got to go.
Do they need more rocks out at the shooting range for the berm, or do they have that built up?
The rocks are fine, they need dirt.
Just the dirt, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well, another thing too, you might put out a call into party line.
Yeah, I never
If you
even
want someone
advertised them or anything either, so that's a possibility I could go.
Yeah, start putting out word, and out at the Habitat for Humanity, they have a board out there in the foyer of people wanting things and people wanting to get rid of things.
Sure.
And there's places that you can let people know. Somebody might
I'm
just...
pretty sure that it was quarried when they dug the basement in my house, 1925, so they've been there almost 100 years.
Antique rocks.
Well.
How do the rest of you guys feel?
I'm with Vicki. If we continue to see progress, then I think
I'll try and clean up where the rocks are, get rid of some of the buckets and stuff, and make it look better.
How the rest of you guys feel?
As long as he's making progress, which he seems to be.
So right now, the rocks is the only issue. It takes care of the rocks, and we're pretty much done with this.
Well, no.
I still have the back porch to close in.
Yeah, he
and
needs
do
to
some
put
work.
siding on that building. Well, Dave, you tell me what.
Oh, on the little building?
Well, I think you have like a frame, doesn't it have to be totally enclosed where you have that wood stored?
Yeah, that was something a neighbor started, a little kid's playhouse, and he moved,
Got a
so.
lot of carports that aren't framed in.
Okay, well, tell me, Dave, what needs to be done?
I think the stuff between that little shed and his house.
I need to clean that up, yeah.
He's got some guttering there and stuff that's, yeah, he's gotten a lot of stuff out of there already since last time. He's just got, yeah, get that done. And then, yeah, then he needs to get the back porch enclosed.
So do you feel?
I don't really see anything wrong with the little shed and stuff. I mean, I don't know why that'd be framed in.
We don't have to, like the siding on that top one, he doesn't need to put the side.
Yeah.
We don't have.
On the garage there?
What?
On the garage there, is you gonna fix that up, the door and everything?
Yeah, I'm changing the siding on the garage from the slate to the vertical pine. And so that'll be all changed.
I don't see those projects probably being done in 30 days. You?
Hopefully I can get it done.
Oh, I mean all the siding and stuff?
Probably not the siding, but the door frame itself, I'll get that in.
You mean where this door is leaning in?
Yes.
Okay, so you can get, so you think you can get that door framed out?
Yep.
And do you think you can get rid of all these rocks and these buckets?
Yes. I got there's two 55-gallon barrels there that are empty. I was going to fill them with rocks. With all the small 5-gallon buckets. That way it can conglomerate it a little better.
You're saying you want the barrels gone?
Well,
or you just wanted to get the rocks in the barrels?
It just seems like you should clean up that area.
The small rocks.
I mean,
Well, the barrels at least blend into the landscape better.
Yeah, well, he doesn't want those rocks, so why let them sit there forever? Why not just say, the barrels go too? Somebody will buy those barrels.
And I haven't tried or anything, I just was using them for the rocks at the time being. Okay.
so do you guys want to give them some type of deadline, 30-day deadline? And do you want to give them specifics? Or you just want to show improvement? Tell me what you would like.
I think we should review another 30 days.
Exactly, yes.
So 30 days, and what do you need him to do?
Well, everything you just said.
Just the door frame, the garage door framed, and a lot of the rocks removed. Is that our goal for the 30 days?
Can I ask, I would like to get the door done, but is that really part of the original? Because that's not in the yard, that's
Yeah, I'm
the
more
building
concerned about
itself,
this
so I'm
stuff.
just wondering if that's outside the scope of...
Well, I don't think that is according to code, that garage door, is it, Dave? It's not set.
It's not set, no.
Yeah, so that wouldn't be according to code, right, Dave?
But I think the other was a nuisance. I just want to clarify what was the original complaint about, or
I'd
the...
have 75% of the places in this town not to code if you want to go straight not code.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to make sure that we
It's one of
give
those
him
that was allowed, I
specifics.
guess.
Right, but we don't want to just say, you need to improve it, and he takes one barrel away. I want to give him specifics on what he needs to do in the next 30 days. So tell me what you want me to write down here.
So, if you want the rocks out of there, then you just need to get the rocks out. If you get the rocks out, you might as well get the barrels out.
Yes.
Okay, so the large,
Why? Leave them.
Would the garage door be a safety issue?
That's his own issue. But I think if we concentrate on cleaning up the nuisance in his yard, I think that's where we can stick to.
Okay.
Well, I was by there this weekend, and what about all this stuff that's still on the drive? There's still stacks of bricks and stuff.
Yep, that's still part of the cleanup.
Is it? Okay, okay. Well, I think that he has come this far, and I think to show what can be done, I mean, I can't see taking it and still leaving code violations there, as long as he's doing it, just because somebody else is not up to code. I think it's kind of been our method for residents to call in the very worst and say, can't this be done? And we go from the very worst, and then when that's done, then we go to the next very worst, you know? And I mean, he's just an example of what can be done. You know, that's a nice house. It's
There's a lot of improvements to that house.
Yeah. So to take it, to get all this out.
so what do you want in his 30 days to be?
The rocks, the barrels.
The rocks, the barrels?
Rest of the backyard?
Yeah.
Barrels?
And move the bricks. You brought up the bricks.
Yeah, the driveway. because that's visible from the front of the house.
Okay.
So you want the bricks to be moved where?
What do you get?
Place.
Out of sight.
Bricks
driveway.
placed in the driveway, okay. So what I just heard was large barrels of rock gone, and the backyard cleaned up, and the bricks placed in the driveway. Is that doable in 30 days?
It's doable.
Okay, and at that point, that doesn't even bring him up to code yet? That doesn't bring him to code yet. So I guess what we're asking for is improvement at that time and review again.
Okay.
You know, we can all go by there and take a look.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Is there a consensus of council to proceed with those 3 things for this next 30 days? Yes? All right,
Okay,
Mr.
thank you.
Molnaric.
Thank you.
Thank you for your improvement.
Yes.
All right. Now, Dave's going to continue on with Mr. Hers.
He's not here. He's not here.
He didn't come. I just wrote to take care of it.
Okay, so the time frame on Mr. Hers was, he was notified in February of 2016. We had a hearing in February of 2016, and he was extended till 11/14 tonight. And when we, I think, wasn't it included what we asked him to do in here? Yeah, there were 3 things we had asked him to do at the October 10th meeting. That's on page 29 of your packet, which was the trailer and truck were to be cleaned of debris, the tin shed was to be removed, and the west side of the fence is...
Finish the fence.
Sorry?
Finish the fence.
Finish the fence. So, if you look at his, on page 31, it still has a trailer and the truck with stuff in it. The
Yep.
fence isn't completed.
And the building got moved, but it's right back there in that one picture by the, look at that red truck. He put it back towards the alley.
Oh, I
He has
see.
it back there. Today he has it back there with some more metal stuff, so. At least he's picking a metal pile to get rid of. These just, it's not going good. I mean, from initially, back in March, April, yeah,
February?
it's been good. This is good. At least you can pull in the driveway on the west side. But he's got a post hole digger up there right now, but he could have had that 4 weeks ago too, I would thought.
Well, putting a fence up around this isn't going to bring this to code. I mean, this stuff's got to be hauled off.
Do what?
This stuff needs to be hauled off. This isn't anywhere near code.
That's,
Don't you think?
And it actually looks worse than these pictures
Some of them
show.
sure do. I mean, I think he's to the point where he doesn't know what to do. You know, he's looking at this stuff and saying...
no, he just, no, I don't think there's any
so he's
motivation there.
Not doing anything.
Any idea what it would, how many loads it's going to take to, how much time and loads it's going to take to...
No, don't know. Doesn't matter. It's gonna go on the taxes regardless, because he don't have no money to pay for it, so.
We hit the deadline, so we...
Well, do you know if that truck runs and that trailer, where he's got all the stuff? Do you think that runs?
The red truck or the white truck?
Well,
The red truck's not his, I think that belongs to the neighbor. He has a gray pickup, no, that, I don't know if the white one runs or not.
yeah, the white one is where all the debris was on, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, Dave did talk to him, told him to take it out of town, and he didn't do it. So, we could have our city go up there and start cleaning things away and put it on the tax roll, at least labor cost to do it.
And the dump fees, is that...
Yeah. You know, Austin had said that we can charge them the loader fee usage and things like that, but you hate to put the fee on it to the point that they don't, their taxes in, they don't pay their taxes, and we cause a bigger problem. I mean, they are not delinquent on their taxes at this point. So I think just charging the labor would at least clear the problem. We don't need to make money on this, we just need to get it cleaned up and understand. Dave and I talked a little bit this afternoon about giving them till Monday. You have till Monday to get that trailer out of there and everything out. And our guys are coming in on the 21st, and we take it away.
Yeah, because that's clean up anyways right now, aren't we?
Well, they're on cleanup.
Yeah, so I don't know when they'd have
That's not the
time.
same cleanup as this cleanup.
I mean, I don't know when they'd have, I don't know if they'd have time.
They wouldn't have time this week.
Yes.
But we just thought we'd give them one final week, Monday's the day to do it.
Anything they haul off is just going to save us time and money too. So.
But I don't know if you're going to, you're not going to charge for your loaders and stuff on this one. It's going to be pretty tough to do it the next time.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Because we always have charged for all the equipment.
You have charged?
Yeah, it's standard. I mean, we have a standard fee for everything. Just like if somebody wanted us to help them out with the, like we did with the flush. I know it's a different situation, but AHRS needed us to do something, so we have a standard fee for everything.
Yeah, we charge weed eaters.
Just like going into
mowers,
yeah,
pickups, dump trucks, yeah.
All right, well, it's you guys' call.
Well, I think that if you're going to give him till Monday, then you just need to tell him that he needs to cherry pick whatever he thinks he wants and let him know, so it's not a big shock when they come in, and just start clearing all this out.
Well, he needs to take away.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Because we're going to clear it out.
Let him just tell
What
him.
do we do with this?
We're going to take it to the dump.
If it's
Take it to
scrap,
your
we
house.
scrap it. If it's like the rock, if we were to
You got
take
room.
Smitty's?
You got room out there, don't you?
Where?
More room right down
Golf
here.
course?
Put it in your driveway.
If it's stuff we can put out at the dump, we can put it out the dump. If we got to take it wherever.
Most
that's where
stuff
it
we take to landfill, unless it's
Landfill.
steel and stuff,
This
then we get a
stuff.
load and take it to Smitty's, or if it's a small amount, we take it down to the shop till the guys get a load.
Have you done one this size before, David? I mean, this is going to take some organization.
Most things we do is just garbage,
Yeah.
debris, just junk. I mean, nothing like this with mowers and stuff.
And is the group clear on what they actually, is there anything in there they can't take? So is there any line
Well,
that you
he'll have to go in there with them, and
So you're real clear on what we can and can't?
No.
You mean
No.
like combustibles and...
How do I know what's good or bad?
Well, no, that legally we can, I mean, is there anything that we can't
Take to the
take out of
landfill?
the yard, I guess was my question.
I guess.
It's a good question.
Well, that's why you give him time, to give him time, a written notice that we
Yeah,
can
but-
keep on file.
Yeah, we've been
that says
doing this since, I think, March.
And I would say
Oh, I
don't
know.
just take just enough so it's barely compliant. I mean,
Oh.
you have to go in.
No,
'cause otherwise it's gonna
I
go back
just
up
didn't
across
want it to
the
come
line.
back that you
Yeah.
shouldn't have, I don't know what that is, just that you had no right to take that
Yeah.
piece of something.
I don't think he believes us. I don't think he believes us. I don't think he's had extensions, and I just think that, I don't know what color the sky is in his world, but I just think he doesn't think that this is really going to happen. And I think this is just a bigger job than he can do. So to give him a notice and let him take what he wants to take, give him a chance so he doesn't say, well, you took a brand new mower. Tell him this is drop dead, this is it, we're coming in. Whatever you think you want out of here, you better get it because we're coming in. Okay, we can do that, right? And that gives him a chance to take to haul the truck. What about the truck?
He's had plenty of chances.
He's had plenty of chances. I
We
understand
didn't
that.
tell him he couldn't take the truck. We just said you had to take the debris off the truck.
Yeah. Well, I say we proceed. Just make
Is there
sure
any
he understands this is
direction
it.
you want to
We're coming.
give, Dave?
Well, it's not going to be specific, it's just that you need to have a defined nuisance. What is creating the nuisance?
Lots of photos.
If you didn't, and I'm trying to remember, I don't have in front of me, but, a vehicle, I don't think we gave him notice of a junked vehicle, so I don't think you can touch the vehicle, but anything there that's creating a nuisance.
The only vehicle we did, and he's got a tarp now, so.
Yeah. you have the discretion as the officer in this role to make that definition. I'm happy to field a call if you've got a specific question, but it is discretionary. What you believe to be the nuisance, and you have every right at this point to abate it completely per the ordinance. I know that doesn't really answer the question, but I mean, I can't look at the picture and tell you what is.
So we picture and document everything that gets sewed on?
Yeah. Certainly. I think that's prudent. With this, the size of a job and uniqueness.
I guess if the mower don't start, it's no good. Problem is, some of those things, if they belong to other people.
Well, we're giving him a week to get them to those other people.
Well, we've given more than a week.
I know, but if we're going to tell him we're coming in on the 21st, he has one final week to get them to those people. So I would entertain a motion on this action.
I move to approve that we continue with the action as of Monday, the 21st, and give him final notice, and if not, the city will abate all the nuisance materials in the
city crew and assess it back.
And then bill for the standard fees associated with any work.
Is there a second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Do you want to discuss the containers real quick?
Yeah, it's up to you.
Yeah, go ahead and share.
I give you a little report there. You guys want? Planning Commission had a good discussion on this. I just quickly jotted down some of the comments I made about the different zoning districts we had. I don't know if any of you had time to read it or not.
Well, you just laid it out this afternoon, so I thought what you could just kind of give an overview. We would look at it and discuss it at the next meeting, maybe. But did you guys have any discussions specifically for Dave regarding how to?
These are just some things we come up with and thought. Then we'd like you guys to look at it, put your thoughts on it. If you want to bring it back, we can work it together again. And sooner or later, though, when we get this figured out, then we're going to have to take it and probably have Craig draw something up so we can put it, make a text amendment for the code book.
So this is basically a recap of what they recommend.
Yeah. We looked at some temporary uses that Concordia had. I think maybe I can try to get through that and find a few more. Maybe we can make one section with some temporary uses. That way when we do an R1 or something, if you're going to have a temporary use with that, we just put that in there and see article such and such. It'll tell them what they can do for temporary uses. I think we'll probably it's probably going to be a good thing, but I think we need to get it figured out so it's right the first time before we do it.
Right.
I mean, if we get your ideas and we can go back and just put all the ideas together, and some of these things isn't what you really think. Jot them down, make notes, and we can go through it.
Have you read through this option?
Yeah. I think they covered everything pretty well, going from R1 to industrial. I mean, these are things we had discussed, me and David had discussed before, and the planning and zoning pretty much elaborated even further. So I like the looks of this start.
Okay, so we'll have it in the agenda packet next week. Read it, may have suggestions.
I was at that meeting. I was at the Planning Commission's meeting, and they knocked this around a lot. They put this together. I don't have a problem, considering that those trailers are going to end up in my ward because it's Palmetto, and the zoning in the Palmetto section is kind of cobbled up, and we have a lot of non-compliant use down there. A lot of the industrial and has turned into residential. So I think that the Planning Commission tried to consider all things, and especially the residents who might have this show up next to their house. I think that I don't have a problem with temporary. You know, if there's a beginning and an end, and then it goes away, I mean, I don't have a trouble with temporary, but I do with permanent.
I think there's some temporary uses that we need to fine tune, you know, construction, maybe designate what the temporary use is.
And I think a number of days and fees.
Yeah, put a time limit on
So
them.
to discourage
That's
forever.
a good idea, Darlene. Yeah, in the C1 and C2, I think that that those come to the council for approval on an individual basis.
You're talking about temporary ones?
Well,
No.
they didn't agree,
Yes.
they didn't agree to have them in C1 other than just temporary use for construction stuff, basically.
Oh, yeah, C1 zoning district containers would not be allowed, okay.
Yeah, C1 down, that's right downtown. But you get a construction company coming in and stuff, remodeling, they're gonna probably,
Well, I live in C2,
Right.
non-compliant use.
No,
housing is
the
not
commission said, you know, absolutely none in residential. But when you look at C3, do you really want containers along there? You know, we're trying to attract new businesses to town with the NBAT. And that's all along the Highway 36.
Well, I haven't had a chance to really read this. So can we just read it,
I
discuss
think
it
if
the
you
next
wanna
meeting?
attract new businesses and keep somebody like Walmart where their stuff comes in those
But
containers.
they put theirs behind the store.
Well, that's what this says.
And
That's what
that's
this says.
temporary. Yeah.
That's what this says, keep them behind the main structure. So,
But there's
but those
one right,
businesses out there, if somebody's coming to town and that's how their stuff's shipped,
but there's one right now that sits along the highway and has for sale on it.
correct.
Where is that, Darlene?
That's across from CJ Express.
Yes.
Is that a sarcastic remark?
Oh, I just want to know where it was.
Oh,
I'm up and
That's
down,
where
I'm
it
real
started.
sensitive to that.
yeah, that's where,
Okay, I
that's
get
the
it.
one that's selling them.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, anyway, I would just like to read this, ponder it, and
You
we'll
gotta make
discuss
this
it.
thing real, you gotta make this thing basic, unless you wanna just put down here that Landos can't do this, and Walmart can only do this, and Valley Vet gets to do this, and Orson can do, no, that ain't how you make it. You make it generic, figure out how you want it.
I agree. Okay, thank you, Dave.
And then they'll all have to start abiding by it, but right now, we have nothing that says it can't sit out front with a for sale sign on it. So that's why we kinda want to get this done, so.
Okay, and then of
Put
course,
your stuff down, like I said, then when we have another meeting, we can go through it again.
and we will have to make the decision on the existing ones as well. That'll be a council decision, so thank you for the planning commission working on it, giving us a starting point, appreciate it. All right, next item is the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
And a question on the streetlight removal. Which streetlight is that?
Down in City Park, around the curve, and I can actually point it out here. Right here. So, around this curve right here, there was a street light that was on its own, pretty much, by the pathway, close to the pathway.
Oh, okay.
And it
Duplication of lighting.
It went out, and we just told them we didn't need it. And so they took it out.
I was just curious.
Mayor?
Did they already take it out?
Yeah.
Oh, we're approving this after the fact?
Maybe we won't want to prove it.
I'm like, they've already taken it out? Yes, Vicki?
Do we approve these consumption requests on the consent agenda in mass? I mean, haven't we done consumption requests before, one at a time?
We've done them both ways. Do you have a question about it?
No, I don't. I just didn't know if anybody had objection to or any problem with the lease agreement for the Las Cabanas. It's in here too. But there's 2 consumption requests. I didn't know if anybody had a problem with it or no. I don't.
I don't.
Yes.
First and second. Okay, any further discussion?
No.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. Thank you very much. The appropriations ordinance?
Move to approve appropriations ordinance 3638.
Second.
Any discussion?
Discussion. As I was going over this, I wanted to talk about the Century Business Systems, the color copy charges, $607. My question about this is, we own that copier, but we're paying 7 and 8 cents a copy for copies, a product of a machine we own. And the machine isn't any good unless we get copies, but we are paying for the copies. And we're paying for the management agreement. Yeah, for the management agreement. I mean, we almost could go to the library and get copies for what we are paying, one, to own this machine, and then not even own the product that it produces that we have to pay to Century Business Systems for each copy.
But if we don't have that agreement, then we have to buy we have to buy the toner. We have to, so you'd have to look at the cost of, having done this before, you'd have to look at the cost of what it costs you to buy all that stuff and maintain it, and if it breaks.
Don't we still buy the toner?
No, that's part of the maintenance agreement.
You just pay it.
Well, if I own the cow, I think I should own the milk that comes from the cow. What good's the cow? We got to pay for the copies that it produces. I just think we need to think this over next time. It doesn't seem like, it seems like there's got to be a better way of doing it.
It's pretty standard. I mean, that's a standard.
Chamber has the same, it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, you're paying for them to send you toner, and then if it does break down.
Yeah. Spot buying maintenance is expensive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's the maintenance that goes behind that as well.
Kind of depends on how many copies. I think the chamber, they decided to go ahead and buy the machine, but the number of copies is far less than probably the city does, and at some point, the risk of...
Okay, and then I had another one. The Commerce Bank, those are our bank cards, and I had a problem with one of the cards coming in with a charge for a dinner for $50 for one person for a dinner at a seminar. And my problem with that is we have a limit, $25 for dinner. What is it, $10 or $15 for breakfast and lunch?
For that?
And then almost $50 for a dinner. And I don't see where the employee reimbursed us for the balance.
On the cash, we always get reimbursed. Oh, is that not in this?
Well, y'all don't have access to that, I understand, because I'm on Finance Committee. I go over the bills, I go over the application of the bills. But I'm just wondering, how do we want to handle this?
Well, was it, here it is. Was it listed on page 32 and 33?
It could have been in November's receipt. No, it's in the box. Where's the box? The Commerce.
Got it.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Did y'all look the bill?
Did you look on page 32, 33 to see if it's on there?
There was something on there.
Because when they reimburse us, they list
meals.
it out.
Yeah, but only $8.50. Reimbursement meals, number 12.
Well, that's not who it was. That's not the same one.
It could be in the November receipts, it's not there.
That's the only reimbursement meals that I see.
Yeah. So let me get the procedure right. So when the bills come in, when they sign the bills, is that when Cindy asks for the reimbursement?
Generally.
So it should be in the November receipts.
This is the November receipts.
Well, this is the October receipts. We get these monthly.
Okay, so it's yet to come, and if not, if it doesn't come, if it's not forthcoming, then we ask for
scrutinize
it.
them pretty good.
Yeah, I think Cindy takes a good look at those.
So, but it's always good to point it out and make sure it gets done.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
Oh, yes. I have a question here under, I don't know how, on page 53. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th entry down. It's reimbursement of 320 miles to a Latham Motel for a TIAK conference, $696. Question, do we split that with the county? We're not the only ones that benefit from this. The whole county does. I mean, this is out of a county, county represented buildings. So
I think at this time that when they approved that the Convention and Tourism agreed to pay for it. Going forward, you know, with the new duty separation,
yes,
then it'll only be reimbursed for some, like the C&T director, rather than Brenda. But it was never agreed to, I should say, it was never agreed to on the front end to have them split that cost. It's a good point. You're right.
Right, because everybody in the county benefits from it, not just Marysville and the Chamber of Commerce. So I just thought maybe somebody else would want to help bear the expense on these, because this, what is this, once a month or once every a couple times? It just came to mind.
Yeah, well, I think going forward, it'll be more separated, so.
Okay, and then another one, a problem that I had was Westar Energy. I'm having trouble with the fact that our bills are still coming out $5,000 a month for streetlights and $7,764 for electricity. Now, for the past, 5 years, we have been slowly changing our lights from incandescent to condensed fluorescence and now to LEDs. And I mean, we're paying big bucks for those, up to what, $5 a bulb, because they're supposed to last for 20 years and they're supposed to consume a quarter of the electricity. And I'm not seeing our bill drop.
Well, the street lights, don't we pay per street light?
Yeah.
So we pay a set fee.
The street lights are going to take a little bit because the mass of our street lights are
high pressure
still
sodium.
Actually the mercury vapor.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
That's antiquated.
Yes.
Okay.
They're still old, and then as far as buildings like this, I mean, right now, the LEDs are in here, but they're not complete. So.
Well, and the lights downtown, the decorative lights, the ones that have the old-fashioned with the big things on them,
globes.
the globes on them.
Yep.
I know we surely have changed those out. We surely have changed those out at least once from the incandescent bulbs. I just thought by now we would be seeing a savings. I mean, it should have dropped by a third, I would think.
We will be changing out down the 7th Street pathway with those old style ones. Those will be going to LEDs fairly quickly. As you've seen, the lights are out in most of them.
Well, that whole path is lit up brighter than Main Street, than Broadway is. And I'm thinking we can go a much lower wattage on that.
We can.
Okay.
And we will. It's going to cost a little bit of money up front, but we will eventually switch all those out.
Okay. Well, those are my concerns. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks for scrutinizing.
Yes.
Doing your job. We appreciate that. Being on the Finance and Admin Committee. Okay, is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Beichman?
Yes.
Biesinger?
Yes.
Voss?
Yes.
Ekis?
Yes.
Fry?
Yes.
Gross?
Yes.
Schroller?
Yes.
7-0.
All right, thank you very much. Austin, you're up.
All right. I have with this packet the engineering agreement presented by CES for the preliminary engineering and bid services and hourly rates for the construction engineering. Compared to last year, where we only had 6 locations that included 5 flush tanks and 1 manhole changeover or redesign. you're seeing about an 8% increase, and I attribute most of that to the 7th location that's added on to this. So it's fairly the same as last year. Same agreement, pretty much. The bidding is, if you looked at last year's agreement, they separated out the lump sum engineering services from the bidding services. So if you've seen that, they just combined it in this one. And if Tony wants to, you want to talk about any, did I cover everything? Okay. Any questions for Tony?
Entertain a motion?
To approve the civil engineering services contract with CES Group in the amount of $7,750.
$7,507.
I'm sorry, thank you.
Plus the hourly rate?
Plus the hourly rate.
And
came out of...
120.
Probably sales tax one.
Sales tax one, okay.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 7-0. All right, anything else, Austin?
Let's see. I included all the financials in this one, but fairly, I think, slow month. But there's some things I did not include in my packet. CTS, which we met at the league conference, is coming on December 12th to talk about improvements we can make as far as lighting and mechanical improvements.
Energy efficiency.
Energy efficiency is exactly it, and cost savings. Talking exactly of what Vicki was discussing. They're doing this for free. I know this is going on the record, but I'm not expecting the world. It's free. They might be pushing some product, but I figure they can come in, show us our low-hanging fruit, and we can pick that as we go and make improvements. And they might show us some tricks of the trade just to get us in the door. But I think this is an opening for some cost savings.
Is that scheduled, Austin?
December 12th. Yes.
Here?
Yeah, they'll start here. They'll go to each of our facilities and look at.
We follow them around?
Huh?
We follow them around, or they come back and report to us? Are we having a meeting with them?
They're gonna, no, they're just gonna come in, they're gonna talk to me, and they're going to look at this facility, they're gonna go and talk to whoever inhabits each facility, and I'm probably gonna have each department head take them to each area so they can go, okay, here's what we got. They've already had us fill out questionnaires, we gave them consent to look at our our utility bills, and we'll go from there.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. The geometric improvement project, we did our final walkthrough and discussed at least three different areas that are going to be, we asked the contractor to fix, including the bump on the transition on the eastern side of the project, the dip, I'll call it a dip, at 20th Street Northeast corner, and what was the third one?
I think it was at the east end.
Okay.
At the edge of the asphalt, there's a drop off.
Okay.
Sorry, pardon my voice.
No, that's okay. But those will be addressed by the...
That's not the same as the bump that you just at the eastern side?
No.
So what is the third one?
There's a drop off. I can't remember where it was.
Okay, we'll try to hear you.
Yeah, between the ditch and the edge of the road,
There's like a 8-inch drop off the shoulder.
Oh,
Yeah. Drainage issues.
On the north of the side? North side?
Yeah. Yes. Improving that ditch down there. I think they cleared it away to build it and then fill it back.
They need to fill it back up. Okay.
Was that in the water standing problem there on 20th Street?
That water standing problem on 20th, that northeast corner. Yep, that was the second one.
Good.
Thanks, Tony.
Did they get the...
Was there a rock issue too? I mean, Kevin brought up some concerns about rocks, big rocks and
Oh, I know, they must.
They covered it, they redid the dirt work.
Because they sprayed
They took
seed
more
on
rocks
it.
out of there. I saw them carrying 5-gallon buckets of rocks.
They were addressing that, and then they came through and seeded and fertilized.
Good.
And hopefully, we'll have to monitor it with the drainage. We'll keep those drain covers in there until 70% grass growth. So those are going to be in there.
Those berries, that's good to hear, because
the
people have
berries.
asked me when they're going to take them out, so now I'll say we're waiting for the grass to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
I have an answer.
North Street and 11th Road, tomorrow, I was told tomorrow they will start patching. And that'll, so that'll begin, that'll hopefully get fixed. It'll be done, and it'll solve our dips on those roads as well. I also included in your immense stack of paper that you saw when you came in some information on a house that is for auction. And I've been having questions come in, and my own questions about it as well. People want to know about sewer. And it's this map. I outlined in red the property in question. And then if you look on the eastern side, I noted the closest manhole to the property. So people want to know if they could get on city sewer. So I took the liberty and had Tony take a look at it. The closest manhole is 200 feet away from the property line, and it is 13 foot deep. So there is this drawing that Tony actually made that shows, yes, it can be done. That goes all the way, and I said plan for the future. Maybe that second house wants sewer as well. So that is a possibility, but
it is outside the city limits.
yes, and so whoever would do this would have to annex. So he also included a cost estimate on what this might cost, and the work itself, it looks like for that entire, if that's what the city decided to do, the entirety of that project would cost $64,176 plus engineering fees, which he estimated at $5,000. So the question is, because there was a question of annexation, would you allow annexation without city sewer attached to it? It's allowed for in our ordinances.
It's allowed. There's houses that are big enough lots that they have.
In fact, our ordinances, and I included those, say that for supplying sewer, our sewer has to be within 100 feet of the property line. And then I talked to the county environmental, and she said she only considers city-provided sewer as 400 feet within the house, within 400 feet of the house itself, the structure. And the distance that the manhole is away is 200 feet away from the property line, and about, I guess, 700, 800 feet from the house itself.
We forced everybody who lives out there to collapse their sewer, their cisterns out there because we ran sewer line out there.
Right.
And each one of those took a hit of, I think, $9,000. And we're gonna allow somebody, we're gonna allow somebody to come in.
Well, they had their sewer collapsed though. Their
I mean, they were
laterals, was
forced
that
to,
the right
their
term?
laterals, they were forced to collapse their
Yeah,
laterals.
they requested to be annexed in. And the cost, I mean, we did annex, how many houses do you think that was back then? Did you look it up?
I did not look it up.
But we got, I think it was like $7,000 per unit and assessed over 10 years. But this is just for one individual property, that would be $65,000. Unless that whole thing got developed into, you know, a subdivision. I mean, if several homes were built on that acreage, then we could justify assessing more. But I mean, our assessment to be comparable to the other would just be $7,000, so the city would have to eat $58,000 to get water to one property.
Yeah.
But the alternative is to allow them to have a lagoon system if they have 5 acres, right? So they have this piece of property, if it should sell, it has 18 acres, and you're saying, as long, you know, so there's plenty of acreage there to let them have lagoons, consistent with some other properties.
Well, this brings to mind Lily Creek too. When we discussed annexing them, I mean, it was require three acres to be able to put a lagoon in of your own. And it was either they do that on the outside and stay out of Marysville, or if they're annexed, then they wouldn't put lagoons in and they would have sewer and water. So are we treating this differently? Are we giving these people options that we weren't giving anybody else?
Depends on if you want to spend $64,000, $65,000, $70,000
for one
house.
For one house.
No. Why do we want to annex them at all?
Well, maybe they want to be annexed. Maybe
well, we don't have to annex them, right?
We don't have to, but if they would want to be annexed.
Oh, what we're doing here is discussing their options because it's for sale.
Yeah.
We're just going to give whoever's.
Well, if someone is thinking about considering buying that property, they'd probably want to know if the council would be willing to bring them water or sewer, and if we're not, allow them to annex into the city and have lagoons there. That's just something we can communicate to the potential buyer, right?
And it is allowed under our...
Yes.
Doesn't this property sell this month?
December 3rd.
Yeah, it's first of the month.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if they would want to be annexed in and are willing to put lagoons on it, I don't see how that would be a problem for us. We'd have more tax revenues and not the cost of putting the sewer line in.
Right.
That would.
It's not on rural water right now, is it? It's just on the well?
Right now it's on well, but, well, it's got really hard water.
Welcome to the city.
And the rural water is like right on the corner.
It's right in the,
Yeah, it's right on the
So
corner.
it would probably use rural water?
It could.
And because doesn't Breeding Heights use rural water?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that was
All the rest of them are on rural water.
Yeah.
They just have our sewer and rural water.
Right.
So I guess he's just trying to make sure that there's options. When people call in and ask about the property, that there's options. So you guys would, either way, well, we probably wouldn't, I mean, would you guys want to do the $65,000 for just one house?
No.
Unless they come in and say, we're going to develop 10 properties and we have 7 of them sold, then we might want to do it. Right? So, is that enough information for you?
That's enough. That will help me answer some questions.
Okay. You think we should come in? Okay. Anything else?
I got something for streets, but...
Streets? Okay, so you're done? Miss Debbie, do you have anything?
Unless you were going to say cleanup week. Remind everybody about cleanup week.
Cleanup
That's all I
week
have.
is
This week. The dump's open from 9 to 5. So,
And they can set their yard waste at the curb and our guys will pick it up.
boxes. Yes, for 1 or 2 people to handle.
And you know, I was out at the dump Saturday, and they are doing a great job keeping it nice and accessible and cleaned up. So, you know, just a heads up that considering the abundance of leaves and stuff they're getting, they're doing a great job out there.
That's it.
That's it? Okay, well, moving on to standing committees. The first thing is streets. I just want to say that I think Cromie's looks great. Our street department did a great job. I'm anxious to make sure no puddles are there, but it definitely looks really nice. Does anyone else have anything for street?
Well, I have a request.
Okay.
For Ward 2, for the street sweeper to make periodic visits.
Do you know how they choose routes on that? Because some streets, you don't, it doesn't look like
They don't do every street. They concentrate downtown for obvious reasons.
But there's not many leaves on downtown.
Right.
For this time of year.
Yeah.
Bill's laughing at me, but there's not many trees on downtown.
No, there's not.
So if I was going to run a street sweeper, I wouldn't concentrate on Broadway today. So I wouldn't concentrate on the highway either. I would concentrate on where the maples are, the oak trees, things like that.
They've been in the third
And
ward.
sycamores.
The sycamore trees, yeah. But there are some that the leaves are really high. I did ask Dave Richardson today if we had a leaf ordinance to know if we could make people rake their leaves, and he said no, much to my dismay. But they can't rake their leaves into the street, though, correct, Dave? Oh, there was a hesitation.
You talked to me, I talked to Cindy and Debbie or somebody.
Oh, what? Okay, oh, about the leaf ordinance.
Yeah.
No, they can't wreck it into the, because it ends up in our sewers, it ends up in the catch basins.
That's right, that's
So
right.
no, there's a fine. We had discussed that, who's going to enforce that? And if the police are going to walk up to the door and give them a notice. But just the very fact we've discussed it has changed how people handle it. I know in my ward, I don't see many people mowing out into the street or raking out into the street. Or one thing I did see was somebody actually taking the leaves and she was raking them down into the sewer, into the catch basin, and I don't think she's doing that anymore.
Okay, that's good to hear. So anyway, everyone rake your leaves, that's the bottom line. And we'll pick them up, that's a big plus. This is our week to pick up, so.
In bags. I've seen them piled at the just piles out at the curb, and that's not the way our guys are gonna pick that up. They're not gonna stand there and pick them up and do this. They need to be bagged, and the limbs can't be half a tree. They need to be so that 2 men could handle it and lift them and move them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
I got some more stuff on the streets.
Okay.
The lights on Center and Broadway, the nice little globes. There's 17 of them out. And there's one down by the laundromat, the whole fixture's out. When they put the street in, they cut the wire.
They've been, I forget if they said they were going to come back and fix that when they did that. But they have been working on getting all the streetlights. They got the majority of them. There were a lot more out previously, but time in the day is short.
Last now there was.
Okay, especially with our Light Up Marysville, we need to have lights on Broadway for Light Up Marysville. And we're going to have our beautiful new Christmas decorations, so we want them.
Oh, actually, they'll wait for water.
Go ahead.
No, they'll wait till water, because it's going to water. And so I'll.
And who else, you have more than that? Who else was talking streets? Was that all that you had?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, water, wastewater? Is that what you wanted?
When do we put up the decorations? Since that's the water department. Which I've never quite understood.
Before Thanksgiving, around Thanksgiving.
Next week.
Yeah, before Thanksgiving.
The reason was just because with Light Up Marysville, we were hoping that, and
Yeah, it's a short week. Well, can they get them up?
Maybe
We'll
when
have
they're-
our new lights, the new
That's right, we
decorations,
have our
that'll be
new, I
exciting.
haven't seen them.
Maybe
yet.
when
They
they're
turn out
putting
nice.
them up, they can turn the lights on and check the ones that are burning.
Efficiency.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Well, then we should. That's a good idea. Thank you, Bill. All right, Parks and Rec, are the Parks restrooms now closed? Are we closed for the season?
Yes.
Okay. What else?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
backing up to the presentation of appropriations ordinance, this has to do with parks. The flags that are on the bridges, we decided that this year that we would pay the $533 to replace one more time. Last year, we took it out of special parks, which was is set up by a statute of the state for use of liquor tax, and it's called special parks. And my question is, why are the flags coming out of special parks? Why aren't they either transient guest tax? They're not in the park, and that's what the state set that special parks up for, is for parks for use of liquor tax.
If you guys want them, instead of taking it out of transient, that's fine as well.
Can we change that? Can it come out of transient guest tax rather than special parks? I think it's just an inappropriate use of that fund. And I'm sorry, I forgot to say that when we were going through that. I wrote it down.
So you forgot to say that. Was that in the appropriations ordinance this time to buy the flags? Or isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, you want to make a motion, Vic?
I move that the $533.12 for the bridge flags come out of, not come out of special, I can't do a negative, come out of transient guest tax rather than the special parks.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, 7-0, so we'll make that change.
Thank you.
All right. Cemetery and airport, there was a thank you at the library board meeting for, and I believe it was Cemetery and Parks that went and checked their Christmas lights, and they were very impressed that they didn't even have to ask. They came and they checked them and they're all ready, so they just wanted to say thank you. So whoever of our crew did the lights at the library, thank you very much. They said Wilbur, so I kind of went to Cemetery and Parks. All right, anything else? Police and fire? Are you standing for police and fire?
I'm just exercising.
Okay.
No. They come out and replaced one of the valves on 602 fire truck. Did the certification. It's everything. All 3 trucks are certified this year. While he was here, he was checking 601 out, which is a 90. It's either 90 or 91. The pressure relief valve wasn't working properly, so he worked on it. When he went to put it back on, the O-ring seal and the pipe was rusted out enough that it's leaking now. So I just want to let you know, one of these days, he comes out and does the valves and stuff, but this is some of the piping they got to order next week or this week sometime when they call those pipes in, and we're going to take the thing down to the Nexus where they fix it. So we'll have one guy run it down, and I'll probably go down and bring him back. Be better if they work on it down there in case they have, because if I said we'll just take it down there, because if we got one pipe that's starting to rust out, we might as well check them all out.
So where do you take it?
It's Conrad Equipment down, it's right in the Lennox area right down there.
Lennox, okay.
Yeah. That's where we had the 85, 5-6 years ago, they rebuilt the pump in it. So
will you drive it down there and leave it down there for a while?
Yeah, yeah.
And we won't be short equipped?
We have fire that big, we'll just call some other, but yeah, 2 trucks, should be able to.
Okay. All right, well, thanks for letting us know. All right, admin and finance?
Last time I had mentioned that at the league meeting that I had the media, or the social media do's and don'ts for government, and that was included in your packet. And then I also had Debbie include tips for working with the media, and that was from 2015, but I think it's got some good tips in it.
Okay.
Oh, and another thing, I went with Austin to the League Regional Supper at Concordia, and there were 4 people from the League office there, and I haven't mentioned this to the Finance and Ed Committee, but they're going to design benefits sheet that we can give to the employees and list what their benefits are worth? But we should be getting
Well,
that.
I've been wanting to give
That's a
that
good
sheet for
idea.
several years, so I appreciate that.
And then they're going to share it with all the league too after they design it.
Yeah, who was talking that, we talk about our benefits, and I know we talked about this, about how if you choose your family benefit, it's a substantially more benefit than single. And they were talking about, I don't know who I was talking to, but they said that they give them so many dollars for benefits, and then if you don't use all that because if you're single, you can put it into a 457 retirement plan. But it kind of was a great equalizer of benefits between the different employees, so it's something to think about as well. I thought it was a pretty good idea, and we might have to do that step by step and roll ours to make it more equal, but I think we should look at it. Anything else?
Yes. On page 15, Ally Argo had gone to a conference, and she has filled out a form called Conference Reflection and Follow-Up, and it had been a kind of a goal of mine that anytime taxpayer dollars are used to send somebody out away from their job to attend a conference, that they do come back and share information and say what they got out of it, so that we know that we've gotten something for our money. And what this says is, what did you gain from attending this conference? She filled out a couple paragraphs. What should be considered implemented from this conference? Anticipated action plans, suggestions for regarding future participation in the conference. I just think that everybody who goes away and uses taxpayer money to go to a conference should come back and fill this out. They should fill out something like this to say what we got from it, and if it's a waste of time and you didn't get anything from it, we shouldn't spend our money to go to it next year. So I thank Ally Argo for this in-depth conference reflection and follow-up.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, regarding appointments, I have 3. Nick Stoll has agreed to move from an alternate to the Planning Commission. Marvin Slatter has agreed to a 3rd term on the Zoning Board of Appeals. And Tony Deaver has agreed to a 2nd term on the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I would entertain a motion to accept those appointments.
Move to approve the mayor's appointments.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. Thank you, and thank you, Nick, Marvin, and Tony, for your service. All right, City Attorney, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one topic, and I asked that this just be put on my section of it because it's been on business and discussion items at least once, maybe twice. The council has discussed it at some length at different times. The last time I was present at a council meeting, in one way, shape, or form, it was requested that the city attorney do some sort of research, analysis, evaluation of, I guess, the legitimacy of doing this development, where that opinion was supposed to go. There might have been some miscommunication, but it's kind of here nor there. At this point, I thought that as I was doing that research, it became quite clear quite quickly how much research probably needs to be done to fully evaluate this. And the main reason is that this one street has a lot of history, as we all know. But all of that history, I think, could be relevant. And what it came down to for me is to assess the city's, I guess, more specific liability, if there is any, regarding doing something or nothing with this street, that a full comprehensive review of all of the development, starting from the first, the planning of the initial preliminary plat, final plat, and every piece thereafter has to be done. I don't feel like I would do my client, the city, what it deserves if I just did that halfway and didn't look at it. I mean, this is a fraction of what I need to look at. I had Dave start to dive into it a little bit, and it was probably going to take him several hours, if not days, to make sure it was all covered, uncovered, some of which may not be discovered. I don't know, might have gotten lost. There's just a lot of history to it. And so before I did that, as I started to come to that realization, I thought it was necessary to come to the next council meeting and simply ask the council, do you want the city attorney to proceed in such a way? In other words, is the need to know, to approve this improvement, this development of the street, outweigh the costs it will take for an attorney fees to research that? Is there a necessity to do that? And so I guess what I can say with the research I have done at this point, I'm not aware of a general liability. In other words, I'm not necessarily aware of a general obligation the city has to complete this, and that's a general obligation. What I can't say for certain is if there's a specific obligation, and I would maybe be able to, or your city attorney would maybe be able to find that out through development documents. And again, it's just a lot of them. Because those development documents could in there have specific obligations that the city entered into in the final plat, other documents that may exist out there. But from a general standpoint, I'm not aware of an obligation that the city has to do it. I just want the council to be aware of the cost that the city and its taxpayers might incur to do this. And that is the researching. It's also, as I think the city is well aware, there is likely to be some level of opposition. We know that. The landowners have come, some here tonight and previous meetings, that have voiced their opposition to it. Now, how far they would take that opposition from a legal standpoint, I have no idea. I don't think anybody here has any idea, but I just want the city to be aware of that. So again, it's a sort of a balancing, I think, analysis that the council has to take to determine if it wants to move forward. I'll try to answer any questions that you guys might have tonight. I don't know how much I can specifically. The mayor has recapped quite a bit of history. Dave has done quite a bit of history. I'm not sure. Austin, I'm sure, has done some as well, some research into it. I've started to look into it, and as I'm looking into it, I see potential many different portions of the ULDC, portions of the 1992 subdivision, which would have applied when it was first done. We had other subdivision regulations subsequent to that, including this ULDC, which is our current. How that applies retroactively, it's not a simple deal. It's pretty complex, but I'm unsure of a general obligation that the city has to take some action at this point. So I know that's not really a legal conclusion that I'm using, but I just wanted the city to know that I don't know of a general obligation. If that's the driving force, okay.
But I would say the driving force would be that we're supposed to be in compliance with our ordinances. And when I read the subdivision regulations ordinance, we are not in compliance with that. And when I read the Unified Land Development Code, I do not feel like we are in compliance with that. And for that reason alone, I think we need to make sure, do whatever we can to be in compliance.
Right. Well,
for some reason in 1995, it looks like, when subdivision A went into place and subdivision B went into place, they did everything according to the code at the time. And then something happened in 1995. And all of a sudden, we started doing disjointed things instead of doing what the subdivision regulations said. And, it's kind of disheartening. So now we're 20 years later, and we obviously have a new Unified Land Development Code, but we're not in compliance with anything, not the subdivision regulations that was in existence in 1995, or what's in our Unified Land Development Code and anything in between, as far as I've seen.
So I think, and that's a fair point that you brought up previously, I think in open meetings, and I guess it begs a further question of what does in compliance with the code mean? What is the purpose of the code or the subdivision part of the code? Is it to apply to things in existence? Is it to give guidance to development that comes forth later? Is it both? And
well, isn't an ordinance a city law?
well, the ordinance on this approves that this ULDC applies, and this ULDC is a large, it's not just one simple ordinance. The ordinance just approves it and adopts it. Within that, this ULDC is pretty complex into its purposes. I think it has varying purposes, and I'm not sure it's all completely black and white. I'm not saying I disagree with the analysis that this particular subdivision is not in compliance. I think what I'm trying to get at is there an obligation that it get into compliance at this point? And if so, does the city have an obligation to enforce that? From a practical standpoint, does that bind this council and future councils to have an obligation to go around and make sure all other items that fall under this ULDC are in compliance as well? And maybe it does, but
isn't that the whole purpose of having it? Is to
well, that's my question. I'm not sure if it is to apply to existing structures that were created before it. If it is then supposed to force the city or obligate the city to get that existing structure, pre-existing subdivision, in this case it's a subdivision, into compliance.
Well, I think the purpose is to have the developer be in compliance. The developer is the one that's really out of compliance of that subdivision, right?
Maybe. I don't know that I would say that.
Well, so the developer, you know, according to that subdivision regulation, was supposed to put streets, sewer, even storm drainage in. I mean, when you read through it, and all these improvements are supposed to exist before the, you know, before building permits were issued. Right. And that didn't happen.
Right. And so the question that I don't think is, I would not make the conclusion that the final plat that occurred in 1995, approved by the Zoning and Planning Commission, that was then taken to the City Council and approved by the City Council, did that violate the 1992 subdivision regulations? I mean, I think that's a specific question.
Well, the plat didn't, but the improvements didn't come into existence when they should have. You know, when it said the final plat was supposed to be filed, it was supposed to, the improvements were supposed to exist, or there was supposed to be an agreement for the improvements to exist.
And so something, if that was the case, and then something went awry, what went awry, how did it go awry, and who's at fault for that? Is it the subdivider's fault, or is it the council's fault for approving, or is it the Planning and Zoning Commission's fault for approving something, or going forward with it and not approving it, or excuse me, supervising it or enforcing it? That's an unanswered question. I don't have, that would require a lot more research into the history of it. And once that answer is found out, what is the city's possible remedies? I mean, is it to the subdivider? Perhaps. I mean, I think that's certainly one option. But it might not be quite that simple. And if those remedies that are available in the city, if it's towards the subdivider or somebody else, to the current landowners, does the city have an obligation today to enforce it based upon what happened or didn't happen in 1995 and years later?
Well, maybe our more realistic question should be if we believe 12th Street should go through. It's a platted, dedicated street. You know, and if that one statute applies, that it's an intervening street, it's less than 2 blocks long, we have the right to put it in at our discretion. You know, maybe we need to find out if that's our approach.
Well, I guess I'm not really understanding.
Well, I mean, is there a benefit for us to go back and say, okay, who's at fault in 1995 that it didn't do correct, that was not, or do we just say, we as a council believe that we should put 12th Street through to Jayhawk Road, and let's do it as an intervening street and go forward? Isn't that an easy solution, or do we have to go back to 20 years and try to figure out cause and effect?
I don't know that you have to do that. No. Was this not voted on? It was tabled before this issue?
Well, we wanted you to give us legal advice. I think that's fine.
Well, so what is the legal advice then? Is the city obligated to vote affirmatively that it has to build a street?
Well, I think we want to know whether or not we can go, well, first question would be whether we can go ahead and put the street in, irrespective of what was done, or what was done and not done in 20 years ago.
Well, it's a dedicated street. I don't see any reason
we could put the street in. So we could vote and approve to put the street in.
Yeah, understanding that there's opposition to it, and I mean, and you also have to make a decision on how it's paid for.
Yeah. But isn't I mean,
that's not my decision.
But isn't the statute really clear that the adjoining landowners are supposed to pay for any street upgrade?
From what I got from the league, and I went and asked this question to Larry at the league, and he justified, or not justified, he explained that statute, which is 601. 601. It says, yes, must assess to the street, to the
property on each side.
Property on each side. But he explained that statute as if you are going to assess, it must be to the adjoining street. And if you are going to assess, you must assess at least 5% of, no less than 5%.
But where's that come out of this law? I don't see that in that law at all.
What?
That 12601. I mean, it says when any street or avenue, the cost of such improvement shall be paid by and assessed to the property on each side of said street or avenue to the middle of the block.
That was his legal advice.
Well, Craig, do you agree with that?
I don't know. I don't know where it is either. It doesn't say it in 601.
It doesn't say it in 601.
I'm not saying it doesn't agree. I'd have to talk to Larry,
I guess my concern was less than can we, then do we have to? That was what I thought we were waiting on legal advice from, is if we were required to put it in.
Especially if we were going to do partial street. If we did part of the street, does that mean based on the ordinance we're really required to do the whole street because we already did part of it?
Yeah.
Or we're going to redo part of it. That was the way.
Well, and a home was already built on that.
You guys, you know, the whole assessment thing is to be fair to all the other residents in Marysville, Kansas. We are supposed to assess because on that street, because everyone, all the people in A and B were assessed when their street went in. It's only fair to assess them.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not justifying not assessing them, but if we were to follow that statute directly, all chip and seal would be assessed. All improvements whatsoever, whatever they may be, to streets would be assessed. And
but the key point in this is whenever the street was originally put in and those developments, they were assessed.
Which, and
we should be fair. We should treat all residents the same. You know, this is my whole thing about this. When you look at it and you look at all the history, since 1995, something went wrong, and we need to start doing it correctly and treating everybody the same.
Well, I don't think we're questioning that we shouldn't assess. I think the issue was if we go and redo that portion of the street and assess those costs, are we further, I guess, were we further violating the ordinance by not finishing the street all the way? That's where I go.
Yeah, see, the other subdivision A and subdivision B, they put the entire street in. Park Place, they put in the entire street. W Lane, they put in the entire street. And then all of a sudden C comes along and they put in 310 feet. And then they put in 240 feet. And instead of doing the whole block. But the code, we have to go back to the law. Our subdivision regulations say you put in all improvements. And even our new UDLC says you put in all improvements. So why would we want to again break our ordinance?
I think that's what we were trying to determine for sure if we would be, based on what was in place at the time. I think that, because we didn't want to compound the problem by doing something incorrectly again.
And Hartley Ridge, we're requiring that all of the improvements be put in.
Right. You know, it's interesting too, because like A and B, they not only assess streets, but they assess curb and gutter and sewer. Then C comes along and they quit, C, D, and Neiman's, they quit assessing sewer. And they didn't put, I guess curb and gutter must have been part of the street cost, but they didn't do sewer. So they had an inconsistency there before the whole concept on 12th Street became compounded the issue. So, you know, I guess what scares me the most is the adjoining landowners don't want it put in, not because people won't use it, but because people will use it. You know, and that whole concept is hard for me, because there's people on 12th Street that would love to block 12th Street and say, I don't really want all this traffic on 12th Street. Let's just put barricades there and you go elsewhere. And you have to say, you know, there's a reason it was platted, because it made sense to go through to Jayhawk Road. If you put that through, you have 8th, you have 12th, and you have 16th that go through to Jayhawk Road for our community. So what would you guys like to do?
Do we know what the cost? I'm guessing you're suggesting you don't really know how much that could.
Wasn't it $84,000?
Well, are you saying for him to research it?
Yeah, I mean.
So you want him to roll back for 20 years and do that whole thing?
Well, I don't know. That's what I was trying to put in perspective.
If we decide, let's say we decide to go ahead and put the street in, and we're going to assess it, which is consistent with the other subdivisions, you think you'd need to do that research to make that decision?
I'm not sure that I would need to at this point in time, where the research would likely, well, not likely, I don't know, where it could come in would be if there was some challenge to it legally.
But do you believe that that intervening 12603 comes into play for a justification of doing it?
Perhaps, but I would need to further research it.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I need to know from you guys is, do you believe that we should put 12th Street through to Jayhawk Road?
No. But you knew that.
Well, then you can't justify improving to Mr. Mayor's house just there again, because now you're not. Yeah, but you're not consistent with our ordinance again. You're compounding the issue that we're not complying to our ordinance.
I guess I don't look at it that way. Since he is the property owner from there forward, we're servicing all the property owners that are requesting it.
Again, our comprehensive plan is for all residents of Marysville. We are not supposed to do a street for those specific residents. We're supposed to do a street because it's reasonable for Marysville, Kansas.
But I don't think there's any demand for that street. I think it's a waste of money, frankly.
Well, all we have to do is gravel it. That would make it compliant.
But you know, what you said is an interesting point, the idea of not opening it because people would use it, but would they? I mean, I think they would use it in that it exists, but I don't think it's something that's being sought. I don't think the traffic on 14th or 16th or 8th is such that we've just got to find another way to get traffic off of Jayhawk Road. I just don't think it is. It's not going to be the direct course for a lot of people. People already do avoid 12th Street because it's rough on the southern section.
Well, again, my example, 12 people, if you could tell people, you could block off your street if you want, because you don't like people driving on it, people will start putting barricades all over town, and when you start to deliver on those pizzas, you're gonna be driving
But it's a
around.
different thing to block it versus spend a bunch of money opening it.
Well,
I don't look at that as the same
we've
thing.
already spent $100,000 putting water and sewer in there.
But that was for development north of Jayhawk
And that's
Road.
what we want the road for, is for development. That's the whole
But
purpose
I
of
don't
the
thi- is
road.
that what's keeping north of Jayhawk Road from developing? I don't think so.
But it could.
I-
And
That's a big gamble.
And we're investing $30,000 in storm drainage, which according to the subdivision regulations said that was supposed to be going to the developer as well. So now we've got $130,000 invested in a road that no one's paid for except the residents of Marysville, Kansas.
But I understand what you're saying. I understand the argument. But again, I still think it's throwing good money after bad. I mean, I don't. That's just my 2 cents. You asked.
Well, I don't think that we should do a partial road at all. We either should take it to Jayhawk or we do nothing. And I don't even agree with putting in the drainage if we don't take the road through. And I think it's a safety issue also. If there's fire trucks would be up there, an ambulance.
An access point.
There's no turnaround.
But Darlene, we voted for the $30,000 of storm drainage.
I know.
Do you want to retract that? We haven't done it yet. Just let the road wash out until they come and say they want us to put the road in? I mean, we could do that. Think about it. Let's think about that. It wouldn't be very smart, probably. Or we could assess the $30,000 to the homeowners, but you have to do it to both.
Mayor, what do you mean do it to both?
Both the east and the west side of 12th Street.
Right. Now, only Todd and I have expressed our opinions. What's the rest of you? What do the rest of you think?
See, I don't know. I see both sides, and I really am having, honestly, I'm having to struggle. I'm struggling with which way to go, because I see both sides. I don't know that we necessarily, I was only asking a question, I don't know that we necessarily need more legal analysis on this. But I'm honestly afraid to make a decision. I don't know how I would.
I know we talked about emergency vehicles and if they have to go down that street and they have to back up or turn around and exit. And that happened I had to take that street to pick up a lawnmower, but I had to use one of the bigger trucks because our lawnmower trailer wasn't available and I had to back all the way up to the intersection. Now, if we don't put that street all the way through, I'd like to see the turnaround put in there so they can actually look out.
Yeah, but to now create a cul-de-sac after a final plat's already been issued, I mean, they approved the final plat, and it was, and when the property was, when the developer bought it, the street went through. So you wouldn't create a cul-de-sac now and 20 years later change a plat. And does it make sense? Does a cul-de-sac make sense there?
It doesn't make sense for trucks to have to back all the way out to the intersection and turn around.
Well, that's the argument for putting a street on through. Yeah, I'm like Brad. I've thought this over. I've looked the ordinances over. I've discussed it with people who are involved in it. I could see both sides to it. I don't know what our obligation is. I mean, the ordinances are mandated by the state, by what we shall do and what we will do. And when you read it, it didn't seem to me that we had an option, that once there were houses on that street, that we were obligated to put that street through. And my question is, that the homeowners or the owners of this land as it sits now, it's convenient for them to not have a street through there because it doesn't put traffic, they have quiet enjoyment of home. There's not traffic going by there. They enjoy the quiet of not having traffic through there. But in time, looking down the road, I don't know how far, what if those homeowners now decide they want to sell this property off? And in order to make that land more valuable and more desirable, are they going to come back to the council and say, well, now I want you to put streets in because I want to sell this land, and you can go ahead and assess the people that are buying these lots now? Because how many lots are out there? There's got to be at least 8 lots out there that would front on that property as it goes on. 6
that aren't developed.
Okay, well, if it would make the land more desirable and somebody's ready to sell it, then they might come to us and say, why haven't you done this?
But see, the key thing in the subdivision thing is they say, you put this in because this is how it was approved.
Right.
It's how it's platted. Right. So you don't use that discretion, oh, do this far and we'll quit. That should never have happened.
Right.
And because that's the whole plan was develop it out and use it.
Well, and that's why I'm saying here we are at council sitting that has been pushed on down the road to us, and if we do nothing, we push it on down the road to somebody else. But and I don't know what our obligation is. I mean, I'd like to talk to somebody from the state or something who mandated this, who says, you know, once you start a road and it's platted, you are required. I mean, I don't know if they say, okay, you don't have the money to do it as a city, you don't have to. But if you have the money, which we do, you know, then you are required to put it on through. I don't know what our
Well, it's, again, the developer, according to the regulations, are required to put the road through. That's the key. Before, they were required to put it through.
Okay.
They're required to. We are responsible to make sure they enforce that.
Okay.
That's our role.
This is undeveloped land. Who are you calling the developer? The people who own the land?
The 3 people who were the subdividers who signed the final plat were the developers, Wassenberg, Ripma, and Joy. They were the developer. They bought all the lots. They were the developer.
So
all this infrastructure should have been in existence before any house was built.
Okay, well, that didn't happen. So now, how do you go back 20 years and assess these people because they should have done it in the first place?
The developer is still out of compliance.
Right. But
well,
those 3
according to the subdivision regulations, it's a misdemeanor, and you can charge them $400 a day that they're out of compliance.
Okay, but of the 3 people you talked about that signed that plat,
yeah,
is there not just one that's still there? I mean, the other 2 aren't even in evidence, are they?
But they're the subdivider, and I mean, that's what it says. Any person who fails to comply with or violates any of the provisions of this regulation is guilty of a misdemeanor, and upon conviction thereof shall be subject to a fine of $400 plus costs per day.
For 21 years?
Yeah, so,
yikes.
So the developer is responsible to comply. This shouldn't be a council. Are we responsible? Are we required to comply? This is the problem. The developer is required to obey the law. We are responsible to enforce the law.
Okay, we're 20 years down the road. It's just impossible to assess how much a day?
I understand.
For 20
I'm just
years.
telling you what the
non-compliance?
The regulation says.
So okay, again I say, one person is still, that you call developer, that signed the plat. Of those, only one is still there. So the one person takes the responsibility of the 3 people because he doesn't own all that land.
Yeah, but it's still the subdivider. Or is it the people who own it now?
How's that go, Craig?
The enforceability of violations of the 1992 subdivision regulations, because that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
I don't know if it's enforceable at this point, if there's a statute of limitations.
Actually, there is. There's a 12761 that also says that, on the books now, that says, under planning and zoning, any violation of any regulation adopted in the authority of this act shall be a misdemeanor and shall be punishable by a fine not to exceed $500.
I'm not disputing the punishment.
The verbiage.
I don't know for sure if it's enforceable.
I'm not really recommending that. I'm just trying to make a point that it's their responsibility. We are supposed to enforce it, but it's their responsibility. We shouldn't be making a decision, do we need to be in compliance or not? That is not, ours is to enforce compliance. And they are not in compliance with the final plan at this time.
Okay, but if you're going to have an action, who are you going to make it against? Like I said, of the three parties, only one party is still in evidence, correct? The land has sold, on the right hand, on the east side of that, of the 12th, that property owner is still there. That is still initial signer. But on the west side, that property has sold.
Well, the people that own it now, always on the plat was the street going through to Jayhawk Road.
Okay.
It was always on the plat, so they bought the land seeing the plat.
So how do you make them responsible now?
You make them responsible because they're the adjoining property owners, and you have them pay to put the road in that should have been put in 20 years ago.
Okay, sorry to belabor this, but if I'm out there and I buy this land and not knowing this,
How would you not know it? You buy it.
It's platted.
Okay, so if I
know
bought land out there and I was going to build a house, I should know, it is incumbent upon me to know that I now am taking on the responsibility of somebody who did not do it correctly 20 years ago. I now am taking on the responsibility of putting that road through.
Well, you buy a lot well, you should know that it's a requirement to have a street on the frontage of every lot in the city in Marysville. So when you buy it, you should know our law.
Well, in reality, the house that's out there is a street in front of him. The property that he owns that's undeveloped is on the part that doesn't have a road in front of it. His house does.
We put that road in that he didn't pay for that needs improvement, and that's where we sit.
Okay, so 12th Street didn't go that far. It didn't go that far.
No.
We went in and
It only went to the end.
until the new house got put up there.
Right. It was just to the end there, and that was all before.
Okay, we're talking about doing the drainage. It didn't go that far?
It was just south of that. There was a barricade.
Okay. Okay, and that was never assessed?
No.
All right. Well, quite honestly, I couldn't make a decision tonight. I couldn't, with the information that we have.
So we just leave it?
No, we have to do something. We have to do something. We have to make a decision, so this is settled. I just didn't know it was our option. Like I said, this came down as a statute with a development code from the state. And if we are required, then we have to do it. That street has to go in. It's just a matter of now who's going to pay for it. And if it says that it is our option to pay for it or to assess it, or the homeowner shall be paid by the owners, right?
That's it.
Shall be paid. That means they must pay it. That's the law. That's the ordinance as it's written and brought down by the state. So we don't have the option of deciding to or not to. If it's because the state supersedes anything we decide to or not to. Isn't that right, Craig?
No, I don't believe.
We have to.
I don't
No?
think that there is anything in the law I have not found at this point of a general obligation to do it. And I'm not sure that there's even a specific law that says that it has to be assessed. I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but it has to be assessed to the landowners. Both of those questions are unclear to me. So I want to be very clear about that. What you just stated, I'm not sure. I can't agree with that.
Well, the reason why we would assess them is to be consistent with other property holders in Marysville.
Well, it also says that in the ordinance.
Right? And this ordinance is saying shall be, I believe this is just saying if you're going to assess it, you would just assess it to both sides. In other words, we can't assess it to Lynn Mayer and not assess it to Sandy Schwartz, or Schmidt. Okay. So that's the way I read that. So if we're going to assess, it has to be equally or by both sides of the street.
And to all persons who own property all the way from on 12th Street all the way to Jayhawk, right? Not just Sandy and not just Lynn. Well, there are other landowners. That property doesn't belong just to those two.
Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 landowners.
So they would all have to share equally, correct? Or is
Well,
it
no,
all
it'd be
the
based
amount
on
of
frontage.
property?
That's
Frontage?
usually what,
Okay.
how it's been assessed in the past.
Okay.
Frontage.
Well, if it hasn't been assessed, that when we extended that road to as far as it is, so that hasn't been assessed back, and are you saying that we have to assess that back as well?
No.
The work done so far?
No. Well, I don't know.
Why not?
Do you assess what you've done in the past that you haven't assessed?
No.
Well, what you're saying, we just did it. It's not like this is 20 years in the past. If it went from where the last house was on up to where the new house is.
I think we did.
And we
it
put
in
curbing.
2011. In 2011, they put in millings.
Was it already there without a street?
No, there was no curving until Lynn put that in this spring.
Okay, he's paid for that?
Yeah, he did.
You did that, Lynn?
There was no curving.
That curb, but the street part, there's been no assessment for. Neither the millings or the hot mix that was laid down.
I don't know who else to talk to. I don't know how much more information we could possibly have. I don't know. I really don't know how to proceed. Personally, I don't know how to proceed.
You could possibly make the question, do you want to put 12th Street through? I mean, that's as simple as it can be. It's a dedicated street. We can go in and put the street in. We can assess it. Do you want to do that?
Well, no, let's not talk about the assessment side. Let's just say, maybe we should have a motion. I believe we put 12th Street through to Jayhawk Road. Make that motion, see what happens. If not, it seems like you can't do anything because you can't put it in a partial street.
Well, I would like to, I hear Craig, and I've read the ordinance, and I've read the old ordinance, and it seems to me that we have a requirement. It did not seem to me that we had an option. Now, I trust and believe in our learned attorney, but that I did not read it that way. And I would like to see from the state, or whoever.
What do you want to know from the state?
I want to know if we have an option. I want to know if that's a dedicated platted street, if we were wrong to not put it through to begin with, and do we have an option to not put it through now?
I don't think the state is going to cover that. They're not going to mandate that we put a street through, because the street is our option.
The street's not, the state can't
if they say
enforce
you will,
non-compliance, though.
Why can't they?
We're trying to follow our ULDC.
Yes.
And those are our regulations that we brought up that do fall, I mean, they're not more stringent than any state regulations. That's how we can have them. Or they are.
We didn't write
They
that.
are more, yeah, we did. ULDC.
This is a Marysville thing?
Yes.
This is our ordinance?
Yes.
The UDLC is ours.
Yeah, ULDC is ours.
And it is not, it's not directed by the state, or it's not
directed.
followed?
It's allowed for by the state.
It's allowed for by the state.
Allowed
Statutes
for.
allow municipalities to pass codes such as this one.
Not every city has that.
And it incorporates Kansas statutes along with
I'm
them.
sure that it does, yeah.
But the street itself is not mandated by the state. The street is what we platted through developers, and the council approved that and said, yeah, we want a street there within city limits. So I think the question is, do you want to put the street in all the way through, or whatever variation you want to do?
Well, I understand the mayor's point of view in that 12th Street doesn't go all the way through. Everybody else paid for their street to go through, and everybody who lives on 12th Street is using other streets that other people paid for. And so when it comes to the point of living on the street, and if it was supposed to go through, then somebody's going to have to suck it up and pay for that street to go through. Because, well, like she said, anybody who wanted a dead-end street, who didn't want traffic going by their house, just block it off. Okay, I'm going to have a no traffic through here.
But we have regulations against that.
Well, I get that. That was sort of a loose kind of a for instance on the situation we're dealing with. I mean, nobody's going to go out and throw up roadblocks, but if you have a chance or the opportunity, or you a quiet street where no one is going to go, it doesn't go through, then of course you'd say, yeah, that's better for me. But like I said, the people who are living there and don't want to pay the assessments to have that street go through are driving on other streets that get them where they want to go because other people have paid for those streets. They paid their assessments. I mean, I see all the points, and I don't know what the, I don't know.
See, the weird thing is, you know, where the mayor's house is, well, they drive down and you get to those next set of houses, and those all had assessments on 12th Street, the street they drive on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make, maybe not so clearly, because I'm really...
And so, you know, you go, their very next house has assessments, and all the way through town used to have assessments at some levels. So.
In a previous meeting, so when this came up, I believe it was discussed whether there were other subdivisions that were also not in compliance with the same situation, and I don't recall what the answer was. Is this the only subdivision?
The only one that I know of is D on 14th Street is supposed to go through as well.
And it hasn't.
And instead it has a dead end. So we could, to be consistent, have 14th go through as well.
That's what I'm saying.
Is that the only one I know? Yes. And you know, the thing is that we're supposed to go to our best of our ability. If something comes up, we're supposed to address it. We're not supposed to say, oh, this is really too hard of a decision. We as a governing body are supposed to make a decision. And 14th Street would be the same way. I mean, we could just put it gravel from where it's paved on to hit Jayhawk Road, and then it'd be consistent. It'd be in compliance with the plat as approved.
Without curb and guttering and a gravel
Yeah, but there's
street?
no curb and gutter up there on 14th.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We will not do that. We
No.
will just put the street through, just a gravel street with no other improvements.
We could, we'd have to put a tube underneath it, probably on the south side of Jayhawk, but we could put it through, and then we could say, okay, now everything's in compliance.
14th and 12th.
Yeah, well, 14th is just one, I think it's one lot on both sides, you know.
To go through?
Yeah.
So I think we're still, so you go back to the simple question. Do we want to put Stroll Street? And I think where we ended up in the last conversation was, even if you put up that for a vote, if you say no, are you already violating? So I think that was the question, is do we even have an option to vote no?
That's what I've been asking.
That's where I thought where the question came in was, because I think we actually tried to vote on that very question, and then it came up, are we violating if we say no? And that's, so
And I
is it
guess
even
my
an
question
option?
was, why would we vote no when we're not in compliance with a code?
Because of the expense.
Because, well, you were saying you wouldn't vote, you wouldn't move to make a motion that was not in compliance with a code. Right? We said, should we make a motion that's not in compliance? And you said, I wouldn't recommend that. Remember that discussion?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would entertain a motion in compliance with our code.
Hold on a minute, because I think you're completing a point for me that I'm not necessarily completing.
Oh, is it right?
I'm not sure, through the research I've done, that not doing anything is
a violation.
A further violation.
Further violation.
Yes. And I have to choose those words carefully, because while it may not be in compliance with the code in 1995 and thereafter, I'm not sure that doing nothing is a further violation. And more importantly, what I care about is the liability my client incurs by doing something or not doing something. And I go back to my opening comments of, I'm not aware of a general obligation to correct past decisions, actions that maybe did not comply with the code back then. That does not mean there isn't a specific obligation, but that is going to require, or I don't have an answer, a conclusive answer to if there's a specific liability. But just a general liability, if we want to kind of broaden this decision out. Does the council have an obligation to correct wrongs done 20 years ago? I don't know that one exists generally. So maybe that's not adding any clarification to this or helping anybody make a decision, but that's just from the legal standpoint. I think that maybe the rest of it's political decisions that I don't have an opinion about, but.
So as an option to say that is a question that needs to be put, so if nobody wants to make a decision tonight, but can we say that is a specific question that will be put on the agenda for next week and that we're going to, our vote?
You want him to research?
No, I think it's just something that that general question, we need to have a vote next week.
Whether or not we want him to do research?
No. Just that
Whether
we,
or not we have an obligation.
and I don't know if it's something I need to make a motion that we then table till the next meeting so that at least it gets on the...
So you're going to table just to ponder it, not asking for any additional information?
Right. But to the point of we need to try to move forward, and if that's the fundamental question that then feeds into the other questions that are associated with it, then, which sounds like that's the case, then...
So you want to make a motion to table it to the next meeting?
Well, when you make the motion, and then don't you move to table it? Do you make the motion to do it, and then somebody makes a motion to table it till the next meeting? Is that how?
You just motion to table it.
But I haven't had a motion yet. So don't you have to, that's what I'm saying, don't you have to move to table a motion?
And you table motions, not issues? You're saying you table motions, not issues?
Well, I think if I make a motion and somebody seconds it, then somebody then moves to table that till the next meeting. I thought that's what you had to do, but if you truly want to get it on the, I don't know, or we can just say we're going to discuss it next week, but I thought...
I think we can just make a motion to table it to the next meeting to discuss.
All right.
Would you like to make that motion?
We will table till the next meeting the discussion of, do we want to put 12th Street all the way to Jayhawk Road without considering the conversation of assessment or anything beyond that simple question?
Second.
I would just like to point out to the council, I'm not going to be here, be available to be here the next...
On the 28th?
This coming Monday, the 21st or the 28th.
Yeah, but the 28th would be the next one.
Yeah, sorry, that's the next council meeting, right? The 28th. Yeah, I'm not going to be available to be here on that.
Well, do you
I'm not sure
guys,
that makes a difference.
let us try to address it on the 28th. Let's see if we can do it. And then, worst cases, we'll table it for the next meeting, but we'll try to address it for the next meeting. Is that fair enough?
You would be here for the December 13th meeting then?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can be.
Well, once we have some motion made, then we can get our legal options after that, right? We have to make a decision first. So we had a motion and a second to table. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
So 6-1 table to the next meeting. Okay. That was easy. Okay. All right, anything else, City Attorney?
No.
Okay, we need a executive session for non-elected personnel to discuss employees for 15 minutes, to include the city attorney and myself. Would someone like to make that motion for 15 minutes? Where are we at?
Move to go into executive session for 15 minutes, beginning at 9:17. Returning at 9:32 to discuss non-elected personnel, to include the mayor and the county and the city attorney.
For the subject matter of employees.
Yeah, I said that. Non-elected personnel.
Okay.
Employees, yes.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
So as an option to say that is a question that needs to be put, so if nobody wants to make a decision tonight, but can we say that is a specific question that will be put on the agenda for next week and that we're going to vote?
You want him to research?
No, I think it's just something that we, that general question, we need to have a vote next week.
Whether or not we want him to do research?
No.
Just that
Whether
we,
or not we have an obligation.
and I don't know if it's something I need to make a motion that we then table till the next meeting so that at least it gets on the...
So you're going to table just to ponder it, not asking for any additional information?
Right. But to the point of we need to try to move forward, and if that's the fundamental question that then feeds into the other questions that are associated with it, then, which sounds like that's the case, then...
So you want to make a motion to table it to the next meeting?
Well, when you make the motion, and then don't you move to table it? Do you make the motion to do it, and then somebody makes a motion to table it to the next meeting? Is that how?
You just motion to table it.
But I haven't had a motion yet. So don't you have to, that's what I'm saying, don't you have to move to table a motion?
And you table motions, not issues? You're saying you table motions, not issues?
Well, I think if I make a motion and somebody seconds it, then somebody then moves to table that to the next meeting. I thought that's what you have to do, but if you truly want to get it on the, I don't know, or we can just say we're going to discuss it next week, but I thought...
I think we can just make a motion to table it to the next meeting to discuss.
All right.
Would you like to make that motion?
We will table till the next meeting the discussion of, do we want to put 12th Street all the way to Jayhawk Road without considering the conversation of assessment or anything beyond that simple question?
Second.
I would just like to point out to the council, I'm not going to be here, be available to be here the next...
On the 28th?
No, this coming Monday, the 21st, or the 28th.
Yeah, but the 28th would be the next one.
Yeah, sorry, that's the next council meeting, right, the 28th. I'm not going to be available to be here on that.
Well, do you
I'm not sure
guys,
that makes a difference.
let us try to address it on the 28th. Let's see if we can do it. And then, with worst cases, we'll table it for the next meeting, but we'll try to address it at the next meeting. Is that fair enough?
You would be here for the December 13th meeting then?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can be.
Well, once we have some motion made, then we can get our legal options after that, right? We have to make a decision first. So we had a motion and a second to table. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
So 6-1 table to the next meeting. Okay. That was easy. Okay. All right, anything else, City Attorney?
No.
Okay, we need a executive session for non-elected personnel to discuss employees for 15 minutes, to include the city attorney and myself. Would someone like to make that motion for 15 minutes? Where are we at?
Move to go into executive session for 15 minutes, beginning at 9:17. Returning at 9:32 to discuss non-elected personnel, to include the mayor and the county and the city attorney.
For the subject matter of employees.
Yeah, I said that. Non-elected personnel?
Okay.
Employees? Yes.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Oh, is everybody here? Call the meeting back to order. No binding decisions were made during executive session. Returning to open session. Next thing up is roundtable. I have a few things. The 7th graders are participating in an If I Were Mayor contest. They all wrote essays they're submitting to the League of Kansas Municipalities. I wanted to give some local winners, whether they win at the state level or not, and I need a couple of volunteers to read all these essays and find winners with me. So who would be willing to read about 70 essays on if I were a mayor? I will take 2 volunteers.
70?
And by when?
Oh, I don't know if we have a deadline by when. We don't have a by when.
General consensus, what general idea of what by when? Is this like by the end of November or?
Oh, if we get them done by November, that's okay. We don't have a deadline. The winners are going to be announced in January for the league, but we would want to give ours out before then. So whenever we get them done, we get them done. That's just the way it works.
So we read them as a group, or we're taking each and picking out our best one, and then
we'd rank them 1, 2, and 3, and hopefully get 1, 2, and 3.
I'll help with that.
You will, Brad? Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Come on, I need
a smaller pile would be fine, but no.
You guys.
What about if it's a committee member? Does it have to be a council member? Because some people like to read more than other people do.
So you're narrowing it down to 3 out of 70 that you like?
Well, there's 2 schools, so the Good Shepherd is going to have 2 winners, and Marysville is going to have 3. So we're going to have 5 winners.
And then the league's going to choose 1 out of 10?
And the league has all of them from all the different cities, and we're hoping that one of Marysville is chosen at least as a regional winner, if not the winner of the state of Kansas.
Oh, gosh.
Come on, somebody is a
Are these
reader.
digital format, or are these
No.
Handwritten?
No, I think they're typed. Each one has 250 words or less. How much is it?
33 short stories.
No, that's how long the paper should be.
Darlene, you won't volunteer to read these. You're a reader. You read the newspaper every day. Vicky?
Could we split them up and?
No, because we have to have a winner.
Yeah, but we could split them up and take our top ones.
Top
10. And then,
Top 3.
Yeah, but everybody should read all of them, because your top 10 might not be his top 10. And if he didn't read all of them.
If you find one misspelling, just throw it.
Okay, so far I have Brad. Vicky, thank you. And Carla, we'll find some winners. Okay, as soon as I get them, I'll give them to you.
Okay.
Thank you for volunteering.
Yeah.
The second thing I wanted to mention was the Veterans Day program was really good at the Marysville High School. I understand we have some veterans that are on our staff: Sam Crott, Kent Bargman, Dave Oldie, Silas Self, that's hard to say, Brian Furking, Todd Packett, and several of our volunteer firemen, including Sergeant Major Brad Eichelberger, who gave the program. So thank you for all our veterans for serving.
Yes, thank you.
And prayers to Kevin Throm, who had surgery today. We hope that he heals quickly and he's back for the next meeting. But surgery was today. And let's see if I have anything else. And congrats to Todd. Great efforts on your campaign. So good work. It was a challenge. It was a good challenge.
I have lots of free time for city visits.
You should have volunteered to read the essays.
Oh, I learned my lesson.
Okay, I think that is everything for me. Okay, Keith.
Yeah, wasn't there a page of table contents or the contents that we tabled, or are they all off now?
We only have that one. We went through them.
The addresses.
Okay, addresses.
We have a second one tonight.
Okay, and where are they on replacing the street signs for new street signs? I still see a lot of old street signs still are out.
We're running through the budget right now. The budget we have for this year and next year probably won't cover all the street signs, but
So
we're making progress.
We're just allocating a number of street signs per year? Is that,
per how much we can,
So many
the
dollars.
budget. Yeah.
I know we still have some rested ones out there. I've seen them.
Yeah. We should be able to make some good progress next year. We allocated a little bit more money
That's true, and I think we spent our money this year.
Yeah, pretty much.
And are we selling the old street signs too?
Yes.
I mean, I forgot who the person was that bought the glass badge.
Are they still
Belleville or Washington?
Washington.
Yeah.
Okay.
What, $5 a sign or something?
Yeah. Are they still buying them when you get them?
Yeah.
We still got his info and everything on that. Okay.
Okay. All right, Bill. Darlene.
Well, I would encourage everyone, the next time there's a regional supper, to attend, because I got several things. Well, one was talking with the person who does the same job as Dave Richardson in Concordia and visiting with him about the containers and then also visiting with the league people. So next time, sign up.
That's
How
right.
often are they, Darlene?
Pretty much, probably
They're
once a
like-
year.
Once a year?
Well, I think there was one, I think they're every like 6 months. I think there's at least twice a year.
We should host.
We could host one. Actually, we're hosting, I saw in that training that we're hosting municipal finance in 2017. It said Marysville. So
If that's true, I put, they have a form you fill out and go, it says you want to host a round table, or round table, or a training, or a regional supper. I just put our name for both, so
Oh,
if that pops up.
It's on the 2017 training for municipal finance. Did you happen to call them about the COVID training?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No.
You can get, so we can get on their schedule.
Yeah.
All right. Brad?
Maybe I should know this, but what was this for?
Oh, that's Vicky's.
Okay.
It's coming.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
Then just the other question, maybe seeing the invoice in the appropriations ordinance for the sweeper truck, I asked the question earlier, if we, when we go into one of our planning meetings, if we can look at the cumulative expenses to a particular piece of equipment to understand, especially when that is just, when we look at the cost and then we can compare that to
Yeah,
expenses.
we gotta do that when, on large pieces of equipment.
And I didn't have a chance to tell you, but Austin thought we could.
Yeah.
So, that's it.
Todd?
Something I brought up, I don't know, some time back, and we've talked about the trees and the right-of-way and things as people planting things and right up on the corner of intersections. I don't know if we have an actual ordinance on, keeping things back from the corner, but there are some that are uncontrolled intersections with no yields or stops. And I've been in some close calls, and I've seen some close calls where there's junipers and things, and they're just, 4 foot high at the corner. Unless you're in something really tall, you can't see.
Dead junipers.
And some of them are dead on the way to your house. There's some, aren't there?
Cindy says there's an ordinance.
There's an ordinance, so do we need to notify them and to
If you would
abate it?
tell us,
And then
and
Dave will...
we'll write a letter
Okay.
that asks them to do it.
I know it's not something we've really hammered on, but since there are some, I had a close call at that intersection.
It's bad.
And I know, 20th Street, there's stop signs, but you have to get out and some of the cars, I think, are going over
You have to
30 miles
edge
an
out
hour.
and then, be ready. Okay, that's it.
Okay, so the key thing is we need to call Dave about the corners and he'll proceed? All right, Vic?
The picture I have given to each one of you is a picture of a fox with a black squirrel in its mouth. And the reason it is pertinent is because if you'll notice, it's in the middle of the day and it is in a residential area. This is on Jenkins Street.
Chris Allen's house. It's Chris Allen's.
It is, yeah.
Okay. Well, after seeing this, it started a discussion with many people. This was election day, so I saw a lot of people that day. And many people have reported seeing foxes in town. 8th Street, somebody said that they see them just walking down the middle of the street in the day, just like a dog would. And
No, they're not supposed to, but the dogs aren't supposed to be walking down the street.
Within verbal command.
Nobody was walking it, it was under no one's control. But down in my neighborhood, there have been some mangy-looking ones, and I don't know if we have to worry about them being rabid, but I understand the reason that we're finding them in town is because, and they're so casual, and they're so used to people that I understand even if we would live trap them, I thought we would turn this over to Kansas State Forestry and Wildlife and ask them what other cities have done. I mean, I know there's not a farmer anywhere that wants us to live trap these and take them out to where he lives, to eat his chickens. So they're here, and somebody had said, well, I know Wildlife, and they would not survive. They're too tame now. They live in the city. People have been feeding them. That might be one of the problems. But they said there was a benefit to have them in town in that, I guess they will take on feral cats, they will kill rats, they will kill vermin, but they are wild animals. And I don't know I don't know the remedy. I thought it was to call Kansas State Wildlife and just say, what are y'all doing? You know, do you live trap them? Can we turn them loose down on the prairie land, you know, or what? But evidently they won't survive if they're turned loose now.
They're kind of a problem everywhere. I read an article probably a month ago about Manhattan, New York. I mean, New York City has wild foxes living in it. They can kind of adapt to any environment, and they're really smart.
Well, they said, we talked to Dave, and he said, or was that you, that we said we should call a game warden, Darren Brown, and ask his recommendation.
Okay, because I don't know what the remedy is. I wouldn't want them shot. I wouldn't want them killed just because they come into town. I mean, we've sort of invaded their territory. You know, there's less wild land, where they can live in peace. I don't know the remedy, but people are starting to be really concerned seeing so many of them, you know.
We can prosecute that one for violating city ordinances.
Yeah, he's eating black squirrel. I get a mugshot.
We saw one between 13 and 14 from Jenkins on the way to here tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
To arm the squirrels.
So, you want to call Darren Brown and see what his recommendation, and let us know in the highlights?
Tiny little knife.
Darren Brown, he's a game warden, yeah.
Maybe we need to keep a list of where people have seen them at, and that's maybe could be start
There's a den up at Lakeview. There's a den out at the cemetery, northeast corner. She's been out there for years.
Linda Louderman said she has some in her yard, and Lakeview has one, and possibly Mary Wiggers has one, a den in her yard, so they're travel.
There was one up there living underneath one of them, up at the Mount Calvary Church, one of them storage boxes they got up there.
Oh, that they took out?
Well, it's
still there?
It was there here.
Was it a construction one?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they like those and piles of trees and things like that.
It was up there at Soup Day.
Well, we'll see what they recommend us doing.
They're cool to watch.
Yes.
They're so smart.
Yeah, I think they're beautiful, but they're...
You don't see very many skunks around when you see them.
Well, and that's true.
We don't see bunnies either.
But what's our responsibility? You don't see many bunny rabbits either. The bunnies are starting to disappear.
If they would just eat the pack rats, I'd be happy.
In my yard, there's plenty of bunnies.
Well, I'm just saying, what is our responsibility? And if one turns up rabid, you know, I mean, what is our responsibility?
Okay. Is that it? No more good things happening on Ward 3? Denny?
I have nothing.
Okay, I'm going to entertain a motion. Oh,
I got one thing.
I skipped you.
No, that's okay. Well, really, it's I want to apologize because we've been planning the Christmas party. And I've been doing this whole time thinking, no, it's an employee thing. We're doing this for the employees. And I didn't think to consult, hey, when do you guys want to have it? And kind of just set a date. I set a date, we scheduled it with the Legion and thinking, hey, if you guys can make it, that's great. But really I was thinking about the people that serve as employees, but I want to apologize for that.
Well, my take on the Christmas party was that when we had it here, I sat down and actually talked to employees that I didn't know. And it was my greatest opportunity to interact with them one-on-one, get to know who they were, thank them for their service. And I think it's a critical time. There's very few times that the council gets to interact with our employees.
And which I was thinking about, not necessarily an addition to the Christmas party, and having you can still call it a party, but a sort of daytime potluck where we can have everybody in, and we're talking and not just partying. We're having those conversations that you guys need and want to have with our employees, and that's where we can have the recognition ceremonies or whatnot, and that doesn't have to happen the day of the Christmas party. And I mean, I'm entertained. I mean, that would be great. I get stories from the employees about how they'd always have, previously they'd have potlucks or they'd have food like a whole week in advance of their Christmas party, and they'd enjoy coming in out of the, probably cold at that time. And if the council wants to be there, that would make it even better. And I didn't mean to step on anybody's toes when we were planning this. It's just, but I mean,
So is the party employees only?
No. It wasn't meant to be employees only, but when I was scheduling it, we were talking with all the employees thinking that was our main concern, is getting the employees what they deserved. And I mistakenly had an afterthought of okay, what for the council? And not thinking that you guys are part of our volunteer-ish crew that helps serve the city as well. And that's what my apology is all about. So, but we can definitely set up let's call it a meet and greet during the day, so we can all sit down, have our conversations, have our recognitions, our year recognitions, and then if you are able, because Debbie's been working really hard on the Christmas party and setting everything up, and for the 10th, if you are able to make it, we would be happy if you would make it as well to that.
Austin, is that written in stone? I mean, is it written in stone? It's at the Legion now? I mean, you've got the room reserved, or is it still a possibility to change it to accommodate people who didn't know it was even happening?
It is a possibility. I mean, if that's what you guys wish, I just, and the other thought, it is a possibility.
Well, my idea is it was good to have it here. It was a casual. It didn't cost us anything to have it right here. All the employees were invited. All their spouses were invited. It was casual because they know this.
It was catered.
And they didn't have to, it was catered. Their wives didn't have to fix anything. They didn't have to fix anything. And we didn't have to pay for a venue. They didn't have to dress up. I think they could come and go as they wanted to. I think it let them, and there was no alcohol.
And the reason we set this up, I actually asked the employees what they wanted. And this is what they voiced. They wanted it at the Legion. They didn't want to do anything. They wanted, for instance, a live band. And this is, I mean, that's how we set it up. We asked them, and that's how I saw it. This is their party. And that my personal point of view, this is their party.
And what's your budget for this?
It was equaling a little less than $2,000.
But who gave you that approval?
My budget authority.
Okay.
I mean, that's how I see it.
Well, I kind of think, if that's what the employees would like, that's what we should do.
But it should be communicated to the council rather than the plant run with it.
And that was my fault. Like I said, it was an afterthought. I was thinking of the planning beforehand, and I'll just.
Well, appreciate your reticence on that.
Really, appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think it is a better idea to have it in the evenings, because after I get done eating here, you don't meet and greet every city employee that comes in, because I have to go back to work.
Yeah.
I'd rather have it in the evenings. That way I could spend more time with the employees. Employees could spend more time with employees, and they don't have to rush and go back to work or this and that.
If you don't go back, have the rest of that day off.
I think in the future we should consider, every year at least talking about whether to have it here or in the evenings.
There's advantages to both, but.
Okay, so we did have a motion to adjourn, didn't we?
Oh, we did.
Did we have a motion?
No. Move to adjourn.
I moved to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned. There we go.